Yes, well, free practice 3 was a very interesting session for us today with Lewis Hamilton just watching his car at the moment. He put himself up into third place. Verstappen, though, only able to get himself up into second. Carlos Sainz, yet again, form of the field, up in first in the Ferrari. Very interesting that the Ferraris have the pace this weekend to be able to challenge for that first position in terms of qualifying pace. Whether they'll have the race pace on Sunday, we'll have to wait and see though. Great to see a multitude of different constructors making up our top 10 right now, Mark.
It's exactly that. We've got Sainz in first, Verstappen second, Hamilton in third, Leclerc fourth, Alonso fifth, Russell sixth, Magnussen and Hulkenberg in the Haas's seventh and eighth, Albon in ninth, and Sergio Perez, who had a bit of issues with his car during that entire session, only down in 10th position. So that rounds off our top 10. Our bottom 10, though, Reese.
Yes, taking you through the bottom 10, they are made up of Lance Stroll in 11th, Lawson 12th ahead of his teammate Yuki Tsunoda. Great day from him so far. Oscar Piastri then in 14th. He still needs to find a little bit more pace there. Logan Sargeant 15th, Bottas 16th, Norris in 17th. I thought he was a little bit higher up. I don't think they got in any qualifying laps on a set of softs though. Then following on, Ocon 18th, Zhou 19th, and Gasly all the way down in 20th. Very interesting to see that Gasly doesn't have any pace out there. Interesting that the Alpines don't have any pace at all here today.
Especially coming off of a podium last weekend in Zandvoort. Not looking very good in this practice session, but I still think qualifying, of course, is all up in the air. We have no idea what strategies were being run in the 3 practice sessions we've had in the last couple of days. So we've got qualifying coming up later, and I think we're going to have to try and make some predictions, aren't we, Reece? So I think I'm going to make the first prediction, because I always make it you, so I'm going to do the first prediction so I can don't have to put you under that pressure. I'm going to say Carlos Sainz has been leading practice 2 and practice 3, and has been quickest in each day so far, and I'm going to still stick with it. I reckon Carlos Sainz goes around in first position, takes pole away from Max Verstappen. Max Verstappen will finish in second, and I reckon Alonso in third.
Well, that's a bit of a shout there for that session to have Carlos Sainz all the way at the top. I'm going to put my money still on Max Verstappen. Max Verstappen P1, Carlos Sainz P2, Lando Norris P3.
Oof, my word. We're putting the McLarens up there. Very different.
Let's do something different.
Very different. Indeed,
I think they have pace.
Yeah, okay. Yeah, we'll certainly see if they've got pace, of course. So that was the end of practice 3 there. Not too much to speak about. Leclerc grabbing a bit of gravel. Quite a few drivers grabbing quite a bit of gravel.
Taking a trip into the gravel in turn 6.
Yes.
Anyone else that I can remember? Oh, Valtteri
Bottas
also
took
in
quite
he took a trip into the gravel there. Luckily, no one causing too much damage. Sergio Perez, we don't necessarily know why his car was up on the jacks, but there's some work going on his car. Still no news of anyone taking new gearboxes for the race or for qualifying later this afternoon, but we will be sure to bring you all of the latest news and action in the world of Formula 1 before we do get on, though, to qualifying later this afternoon.
Yes, indeed. So be sure to like this video and subscribe to the channel. We've got lots of content coming for you. So thank you so much for watching this review of Monza Practice 3. We'll start our qualifying stream very, very shortly. Cheerio, everybody. We are now, of course, reviewing the Monza Practice 2 session. So, what happened in that session, Aries?
Yes, just to review the session and as well as the day as a whole. Been an interesting day. Very exciting to see that the Ferraris are very, very fast out there. Possibly even up on the Red Bulls right now, who at the end of this session sit 3rd and 5th. Max Verstappen being down in 5th place. But also, certainly a talking point is those McLarens, with Lando Norris up in 2nd and Piastri ahead of Verstappen in 4th.
And the interesting thing is, I think the McLaren's race pace was quicker than the Ferraris, so McLaren's could be very much on track to go and get some podium positions this weekend. Could we see Piastri finally on the podium? We'll have to wait and see for Sunday and, of course, for tomorrow's qualifying. But good to see the McLarens did actually manage to find their pace this weekend. We saw they had pace last weekend, but a terrible race strategy, and otherwise the race just did not pan out very well for them. And let's see if they can change that this weekend. Though the Ferrari fans must be very happy at home with Carlos Sainz finishing up with the fastest time of the day, a 1:21.355.
Yes, certainly the Tifosi can celebrate a little bit tonight, and we'll be looking towards tomorrow's qualifying session. Will they be able to get a Ferrari on pole position at their home race in Monza? They'll certainly be asking those questions very, very shortly tomorrow evening. But It's been quite exciting here. I think as well, a big talking point is that Williams of Alex Albon once
As per
again
usual.
being able to drag it up into 7th position. Once again, a great pace there put in by Alex Albon. Fernando Alonso in 8th place and Russell in 9th, though. Not the greatest day for Mercedes.
Yeah, we talk about Mercedes. Hamilton's still not happy with his car at all. Still had to do race simulations. Didn't do a single qualifying simulation today. Just trying to get his car sorted for race pace and still not very happy with it. So, of course, he finished that session all the way down into 17th. So let's just go through your bottom 10. So Stroll caused the first red flag of the day. His car just shut off. Powered off completely in the first 5 minutes, so we had an early red flag there, almost no time put on the board, and he was unable to get back out. So Stroll in 20th, Zhou 19th, Lawson 18th, Hamilton 17th, Sargeant in 16th, Ocon 15th, Tsunoda 14th, Gasly 13th, Bottas 12th, Magnussen 11th.
Yes, moving our way through the rest of the grid there. Down to 20th, Mark.
Down to 10th.
Oh, sorry, down to 10th.
So from 10th up to 1st. I went from
Yes.
20th to 11th. So
Sorry,
we
I
go from
wasn't
10th.
concentrating.
Yes.
Yes, from 10th then is Nico Hülkenberg, George Russell, as we spoke about, in 9th, Alonso 8th, Albon 7th, Leclerc in 6th. Not the greatest day for him. He's quite a bit off of his teammate Sainz up in 1st, Verstappen 5th, Oscar Piastri 4th, Sergio Perez in 3rd, Norris 2nd, and of course, as we spoke about, Carlos Sainz having a great day in the Ferrari car in front of the home crowd, the Tifosi. We will be having a very, very big celebration this evening as Carlos Sainz is in 1st.
Yes, well, Carlos Sainz just in practice is the quickest car, but
Yes.
we need to see what happens in qualifying tomorrow. As we said, could we see a Ferrari on pole position for Sunday? More importantly, could we see a Ferrari on the podium? That's what I want to see. And let's note about another big incident in that session there. Perez, right near the end, just about 8 minutes left of the session, went very wide in the parabolica section and caught the gravel and spun his car and hit the back of his rear wing into the wall, causing the second red flag of the session. Quite a little bit of damage to his rear wing, though luckily not to the rest of the car. Lots of gravel in that car that they're going to have to pick out. Luckily, they managed to get that car away because it's so close to the recovery vehicle. And Red Bull, are they a little bit concerned for qualifying tomorrow? But I'm sure they'll be fine in the race on Sunday.
I think they should be fine in qualifying tomorrow. They'll make a few setup changes to maybe allow them to get a little bit faster down the main straights. I think that's maybe where they're losing a little bit of time. But I think for the race on Sunday, they are looking the most favourable because, of course, they have compromised their setup in terms of that top speed to be able to be comfortable throughout the rest of the race setup.
So are we a little bit concerned? Just lastly, I want to talk about Stroll, of course, who had that system failure. Now, Drugovich took his spot for practice 1, and then Stroll came at practice 2. That was going to be his first practice for the weekend. He was unable to get it because, of course, the car just shut down. Are we going to be concerned about Stroll if he doesn't manage to get some proper simulations done in practice 3 tomorrow? Because he's not got a lot of practice compared to the rest of the drivers now.
Do we really care?
Well, I keep for Aston Martin. That's
Yes,
the problem. I'm
think-
not too phased with Lance Stroll not doing well, but I'm phased about Aston Martin not doing well. I want to see Aston Martin try and challenge for that second place position in the constructors, which they can very much do.
I think what's important for Aston Martin is they need to get both of those drivers close to each other now. And they need to get Lance Stroll improving on his places. We can't have him finishing in the bottom 10, which he has been doing. He has a car which has a lot of pace in it, and he should be able to get the majority of that pace out of the car. And yeah, I think maybe Aston Martin just needs to get him in that simulator a little bit more in between race weekends and allow him maybe to understand that car a little bit better than Fernando Alonso and get him a little bit closer to where Fernando Alonso is, because we want to see them challenging for Constructors' Championships in the future.
Exactly that. So it's building towards a very exciting qualifying, as it always does be, as it always is. In this 2023 season, we have seen qualifying being very exciting. Lots of different cars getting right near the top. The Max Verstappen generally taking that pole position, but always only just. It's not very easy. So it all builds towards tomorrow's sessions, which you can catch here live on Forever Motorsports with myself and, of course, Reese. So thank you guys so much for watching today's stream and otherwise this review here. Be sure to like the video and subscribe to the channel. Let's keep those subscriber counts coming in. And thank you again to our channel sponsors as well, BoyleSports, Bitdefender, ExpressVPN, and the lights. Go and bet with BoyleSports. Great betting company there. And thank you so much for joining us, guys. You've been watching Forever Motorsports. Bye-bye.
Hello and welcome to Forever Motorsports, here for our daily live Formula 1 news video. There's quite a lot to talk about today, so do be sure to hit that subscribe button, hit the like button, and yes, please do let me know your opinions in the comment section, as well as just drop me any other questions that you have and you'd like me to answer. So without further ado, let's get on with the first article for today. Carlos Sainz's father has allegedly confirmed that Audi have made contact with the family. Carlos Sainz Sr. is managed, or Carlos Sainz Jr. is managed by long-term agent Carlos Honoro, but is also advised by his father and rally driver Carlos Sainz Sr., who has spoken exclusively to PlanetFormula1.com. Sainz Sr. confirmed that Audi have made contact. Of course, there's a contract, but nothing concrete at the moment. He said, of course, there's contact, but nothing concrete at the moment. I think for us, it is a moment to wait and see. But of course, Audi, they are moving. They're working very hard. They have the ambition to become really good, really, really quickly. So they are moving very, very strong. I think for the fact that Andreas Seidel, who worked with Carlos at McLaren, and then Sainz Sr. continues to say here, I think that the fact Andreas was working with Carlos for a couple of years at McLaren, they know each other very well and had a very successful time there. I think Andrea is one of the guys who really appreciates Carlos more and the quality he is able to do with the speed and feedback, so I think he knows him very well. First of all, I think it's really good that Audi definitely made the step into Formula 1, and I think it's going to be a good place in the future, that is for sure. So definitely a big conversation that Carlos Sainz could go across to Audi. And then, of course, the conversation moves to who will take that second seat in Ferrari. Of course, silly season has been a little bit boring so far. We haven't had any driver moves as of yet. We're still waiting to hear what happens with Charles Leclerc, with not with Lando Norris, with Lewis Hamilton, with Carlos Sainz. It's just a massive unknown at this point. Who is going to be moving where? So, yeah, do let us know who you think Carlos Sainz could leave for, if he will leave for Audi, or whether he will stay with Ferrari, who he doesn't necessarily seem to have been having the greatest few seasons with as of yet. They haven't provided a very competitive car. Yeah, and it's been a bit unfortunate, but it can happen, unfortunately, in Formula 1, where you do join a team and just have no luck. So that I will end the first poll, because that just deals there with Carlos Sainz. And let's move on to the next one. Lewis Hamilton has said he expects his challenger to be closer to Max Verstappen and the Red Bulls in the next race out in Monza. So, Lewis Hamilton will excite Formula 1 fans with a bold claim for the next Grand Prix. And let me change this poll here. And Mark can stop laughing at me, because for the first time I've actually been able to type the poll correctly first time round. Here we go. So, the next article from the Mirror says, Max Verstappen claimed yet another victory over this weekend during the Dutch Grand Prix, but has been sent a warning by longtime rival Lewis Hamilton in the immediate aftermath of the race. Lewis Hamilton believes his Mercedes can now match Max Verstappen for pace after a topsy-turvy weekend at Zandvoort. It wasn't totally comfortable for Verstappen throughout that race, in a race which was hampered hugely by the chaotic weather conditions, which led an early slip early into the race. A controversial Red Bull decision then saw his teammates undercut Sergio Perez mid-race, a decision that left the Mexican baffled. Heavy rain also disrupted the closing stages of that Formula 1 race. Verstappen's previous rival for the Formula 1 title, Lewis Hamilton, who finished 6th over 13 seconds behind the Dutchman, also having his lowest finish of the season since placing 8th in the Australian Grand Prix. Despite that, Hamilton was still impressed with his overall drive throughout the race, and claimed that he could have rivaled Verstappen had he started higher up. Speaking after, the British driver said, "It didn't start off that well, but I'm pretty happy with the drive that I did it. It didn't start off well, but I'm pretty happy with the drive that I did to get back into the points and get 6th. It could have been higher for sure if we had made the right decision at the end of the day. We should have pitted straight away, but we didn't. We paid the price for that, and we did our best to come back. I feel like today was redemption, in the sense of that it was a terrible day yesterday. I managed to dial the car in a bit better today and overtook a bunch of people." So, interesting to see that Lewis Hamilton does believe he has a bit more pace. He continues to say there, "To start 13th, I was dead last at one point to get back up to 6th. I'm happy with that. I think today I had the pace for the podium. I was on pace with Max Verstappen in the race, but we were just out of position." Verstappen now has a comfortable lead over the top of the Formula 1 standings, with Hamilton sitting in 4th overall. That would represent an improvement on last year's finish after a tricky campaign. The Mercedes star finished the season in 6th, having gone toe-to-toe with Verstappen for the title the year prior. Hamilton will be aiming to prove his claim next weekend as the season continues. His next port of call is the Italian Grand Prix in Monza, where he finished last season in 5th position, with Verstappen claiming victory. So we'll have to wait and see whether this will allow Lewis Hamilton to be closer a little bit at the end of next race in Monza, because we don't necessarily expect them to be as close as they claim to be. Of course, we expect maybe the likes of McLaren to be a bit faster, maybe Aston Martin as well. We'll just have to wait and see what happens, because Monza does seem to suit a lot of different teams. I think it could also suit the Williams, who like low downforce tracks, high speed tracks. Yeah, we'll just have to wait and see who does have the pace to challenge those Red Bulls in Monza. I have now just closed one of the wrong articles because it froze a little bit. Let me get that other one up. But nonetheless, we'll move on to our next articles here once I get that up again. Let me just find it. There it is now. So, our next article is chatting a little bit about Mick Schumacher. Mick Schumacher reveals he's been dealt a major blow before the contract silly season gets underway. Mick Schumacher has admitted time is running out for him to secure a seat in Formula 1 to return on the grid in 2024. The German lost a permanent seat on the grid last year when Haas opted not to extend his deal, instead moving to secure the signature of Nico Hülkenberg, a man they have just given another contract to. Facing a future out of the sport, Schumacher took up Mercedes' offer of a reserved role, but has been itching to get back to a full-time Formula 1 seat. Mick Schumacher has admitted that his time is running out and it is going against him for another race seat in Formula 1. With 9 races to go, it is coming to the point of the season where teams look to the future. Ahead, already many constructors will be parking their development of their 2023 car, instead focusing on next year's contender. But it is not just future Formula 1 cars that need to be sorted out. 2024 is shaping up to be one of the quietest silly seasons in recent Formula 1 history, as plenty of teams look to already have sorted out their plans. Haas have confirmed both Hulk and Kevin Magnussen would remain with them for the 2024 season, while Red Bull, Alpine, McLaren, Aston Martin and Ferrari have drivers contracted until at least the end of next season. That leaves the likes of Schumacher wondering where they may get an opening. The most questionable seats would be those of Daniel Ricciardo, Lewis Hamilton, Zhou Guanyu and Yuki Tsunoda, who all face some doubts as to whether they would be able to stick out with the same teams for next year, but none of those would be a natural home for Schumacher. If Mercedes were to lose Hamilton, it would be unlikely that they would opt to give a relatively inexperienced driver the seat, while a move to AlphaTauri seems just as improbable. It seems that Schumacher himself has come to the conclusion, telling Sky Sports Germany that time is running out. He said, "I can't name a timeline yet. I'm still working, time is running out a little bit, but I have to take my time. At 24, it would not be a disaster were he to sit out on another Formula 1 season, but as a driver with a point to prove, Schumacher will no doubt be wanting to be back racing as soon as possible. An opportunity with Williams could arise, but the Grove outfit has said that they are not looking to move away from Logan Sargeant, which moves us into our next article from Crash.net. Major blow for Mick Schumacher and out-of-work drivers amid Formula 1 silly season as Williams back Logan Sargeant for the 2024 seat. Drivers hoping to take advantage of the Formula 1 silly season have been dealt a setback by Williams, resolute of their backing of under fire Logan Sargeant. The American rookie seats appear to be one of the most at risk on the current Formula 1 grid, with the likes of Mick Schumacher and Alex Palou being in the running for that seat for 2024. James Vowles has come out and said, though, that the Williams team have laughed at the mention of the link to Palou, according to the Daily Mirror, before confirming he wasn't in talks with anyone to replace Sargeant at this point. He was quoted as saying, "You will always have other options coming towards you. That's just the nature of the sport. It would be foolish to hang up the phone immediately. It is fair to say I have contact with nearly every driver on the grid, but that doesn't mean there are any active conversations. There are no conversations for the seat that is here. That is the way I can summarize it. One of the things I have always done, whether that was at Mercedes or here, is I have a good relationship with pretty much most of the drivers here and about 4 in IndyCar as well, just because they're really good peddlers and deserve a chance one day. But our focus at the moment is on Alex and Logan and making sure that we absolutely create an environment to win." Vowles has insisted that Sargeant's early retirement from the Formula 1 Dutch Grand Prix was a team error and not that from Logan himself. He was unfortunate to suffer a brake-by-wire failure as well as a hydraulics failure, which left him with no brakes and no steering, which caused him to have that crash, unfortunately, in the opening stages of the Dutch Grand Prix. Logan Sargeant, though, who is yet to score a Formula 1 point after 14 rounds this season, is under a lot of fire. But, of course, he is a rookie, and there is a lot of pressure, of course, in Formula 1, especially for rookies who don't score points quite early on. Mark there just saying, "Boo, we want Mick back." Yes, of course it is difficult. We want Mick Schumacher back in the sport, but I do believe we need to give an adequate amount of time to Logan Sargeant to at least get an opportunity to score points. I think this weekend would have been an opportunity for him to get into the points, but it was very unlucky with the fact that he did have those hydraulic and brake-by-wire failures. Carrying on with the article, though, James Vowles has continued to say, "We keep forgetting that these guys and girls are in their young 20s. That's it. They are composed, educated individuals who know they are going to have to deliver. In Logan's case, he knows that there's a mediocrity. In Logan's case, he knows this is a meritocracy, and he knows that he needs to perform. But there is no blame. There is a no blame culture. If you take someone and say you're not doing a good enough job, what happens? It doesn't particularly help the situation. Well, what he needs to know is that my English today. What he needs to know is that he has tremendous potential in him, and he knows that. He knows that we have tried to accelerate his journey into the sport 1 year too early, but it was the right decision at the time. What he needs to know is an environment where he's able to take all the learning and use it to good effect. Not worry about issues or mistakes, but learning to build on them, week in, week out. And that's the environment that we are setting up and creating around him at the moment. But it will take time. So it is a bit of a difficult season for the rookie at the moment, but he has had a good run of qualifying sessions. He got into, I think it was Q3 this last weekend out. He did have that crash, though, in Q3, which led him not to be able to set a faster time. But nonetheless, we are seeing those glimmers of hope from Logan Sargeant. Hopefully, he will be able to show us a little bit more of what he can do in the next coming races. Monza is going to be another opportunity, at least I think, for Williams. They did quite well last year with, I think it was Nick de Vries and try to think of who the second driver was last season. Yeah, because Nick de Vries filled in for Alex Albon, who was unwell. But yeah, hopefully they'll be able to have a good race weekend. Hopefully Logan Sargeant will finally be able to get up into the points. Let me know if you think Logan Sargeant will be able to stick out with that team, or whether Williams are going to have to look elsewhere for their number 2 driver. Let's just end this poll speaking about speaking about Mercedes, and ask, do you think Williams will hold on to Logan Sargeant? There you go. So, just moving on to our next article now. Ferrari have gone and unveiled special race suits for the, I want to say Monaco there, but for the Monza Grand Prix. Their home Grand Prix at Italy, not too far away from their factory. And they have released some new race suits. They do look a little bit like McDonald's workers, but we will get onto that for our meme review a little bit later this week. So, moving on to this article, Ferrari have unveiled special... Gosh, I really cannot speak today. Ferrari have unveiled special race suits for the 2023 Formula 1 Italian Grand Prix in Monza. The on-track results achieved by Ferrari in 2023 are unfortunately not what the fans of the prancing horse would hope for, and the beginning of the season, and the beginning of the second part of the season after the long summer break has not been memorable for the Maranello team at all. At Zandvoort, the team led by Frederic Vasseur only managed a 5th place finish, with Carlos Sainz and Charles Leclerc having to DNF from the race with damage. Despite the less than ideal mood surrounding the Ferrari world, many fans are still eagerly awaiting the arrival of the next weekend, when the Italian Grand Prix will finally take place. After the cancellation of the Imola race due to the flood that had affected the Emilia-Romagna region, the Monza race will be the only Italian stop on the 2023 championship. To celebrate it, Ferrari has decided to prepare special race suits and dedicated merchandise, just as they did 12 months ago. On the occasion, a completely yellow color scheme was chosen, paying tribute to the yellow Modena, which is an unanimously considered the Scuderia's secondary color of reference. This time, however, the choice has fallen on a much more diverse mix that combines the 3 historic most used Ferrari colors: red, yellow, and black. The uniform features stripes with the upper part colored in red, the middle stripe in yellow, and the lower portion, including the legs, entirely in black. A fascinating blend that will also be replicated on all other standard attire, of course in various variations. A touch of style in the hope that, in front of the home crowd, the SF23s can offer something more than just an albeit splendid special coloration. So, hopefully the Ferraris will be able to take their special race suits. I wonder if we'll be getting a special race livery as well on the car. But hopefully the Ferraris can have a bit of a better race weekend this weekend out in Monza, because they have just fallen off a little bit in the past few race weekends. It has been quite disappointing to see Ferrari not being able to challenge. And I mean, I think if they're not able to do something special this race weekend, then they're going to have to deal with all of the upset Tifosi, who are normally really, really vocal about when they don't like what they see from Ferrari. Sorry, I've got hiccups at the moment. And I don't necessarily know if they are going to be able to do as well as they did last weekend. I think there's going to be a lot more competition this weekend. I think a 5th place finish will be highly optimistic, really. A podium position is highly unlikely, as much as it hurts me to say that, because I want to see Ferrari up on the podium. But it's going to be very difficult here with a really, really competitive top field. I think McLaren are going to be in the run. Possibly Williams are going to be in the run with Albon, because he was super fast in Zandvoort. Aston Martin could also be in the run. Red Bull are of course going to be in the run. So that's already 8 drivers who could be, or 8 to 7 drivers who could be very competitive in Monza. And yeah, I don't necessarily know what Ferrari are going to be able to do. They are just such an unknown at this point because we don't know how they go from one race weekend to the next. Let me know what you guys think though in the comment section. Will those Ferraris new race suits be a little bit wasted, or whether they are going to actually be able to compete come Monza? Let's start another poll here. There we go. So just moving on to our next article now. And of course, do be sure to go and vote in that poll. Speaking about Ferrari, also do be sure to let me know your opinions in the comment section. I can see I have a few of you watching alongside with me now. It's always helpful to chat alongside with you guys and hear all of your opinions and answer any questions that you guys also have about Formula One. So moving on to our last few articles here, we'll be speaking a little bit about Liam Lawson, the rookie, who was stepping in for Daniel Ricciardo. Of course, we spoke about Daniel Ricciardo yesterday and the fact that he has broken his wrist. He has had surgery now on that, but will be out for possibly the next Grand Prix and possibly the one after that as well. We're still waiting to hear whether he will be able to be back in the car for Singapore, but it is looking highly unlikely, of course, with Daniel Ricciardo just needing to rest and recover from that surgery. We don't want to get him in the car a bit too early and have him not able to get up to his racing ways. So moving on to this article, Liam Lawson to be AlphaTauri F1 replacement until Daniel Ricciardo is fit. Liam Lawson will return to drive for the AlphaTauri team at this weekend's Italian Grand Prix as Daniel Ricciardo continues his recovery from a broken hand. The Australian has been sidelined by injury 3 rounds into his Formula 1 return after crashing in second practice at Zandvoort. He locked his front wheels into the bank turn 3 to shunt into the barrier. The steering wheel then moved violently upon impact to result in a broken metacarpal in his left hand. Ricciardo underwent surgery and metalwork in Barcelona on Sunday and is believed to be treated by renowned MotoGP doctor Dr. Xavier Meur. On Monday, AlphaTauri confirmed that Lawson will deputise for Ricciardo until he is fully fit. Lawson made his Formula 1 race debut on Sunday, having previously taken part in 3 Formula 1 free practice sessions with Red Bull and AlphaTauri last season. The Super Formula title challenger, who sits second in the standings, finished the Dutch Grand Prix in 13th, ahead of teammate Yuki Tsunoda in 16th. In a statement, the team said, "We are delighted that Daniel's surgery went well, and that he is now on the road to recovery. We hope to see him at the track again very soon, but until he is fully fit, we can confirm that Liam, who did a good job in difficult circumstances in Zandvoort, will continue to drive alongside Yuki, starting from our home race this weekend in Monza." AlphaTauri boss Franz Tost told Motorsports on Sunday that Lawson would be sent to undergo simulator work this week ahead of the Monza Grand Prix round. Ricciardo's injury comes ahead of the congested... let me just find my place again. Ricciardo's injury comes ahead of a congested run of races. The Italian Grand Prix takes place this weekend with a week's break before the Singapore Grand Prix and then the Japanese Grand Prix as a double header. Speaking after his operation, Ricciardo posted on Instagram saying, "Hey everyone, had surgery this morning. Got my first bit of metal work, so that's pretty cool. Big thanks to everyone who reached out and kept my spirits up. This ain't a setback, just all part of the comeback." We certainly hope to see Daniel Ricciardo being able to come back and get back into his AlphaTauri Challenger before all that long, because we do miss that bubbly personality of Daniel Ricciardo on the Formula 1 grid. Nonetheless, we'll be speaking a little bit now about Liam Lawson's first Formula 1 race and how he fared. Of course, Liam Lawson, we've already said he subbed in for Daniel Ricciardo, the Red Bull Junior, who was thrown into the AlphaTauri on Saturday morning at the Formula 1 Dutch Grand Prix after Ricciardo had his injured hand. Lawson finished the race in 13th after getting a 10-second time penalty for impeding in the pit lane. I didn't know he got that, but nonetheless, it was a little bit sketchy. Conditions were all over the place. The New Zealand reacted. On the grid, it started raining, not the best feeling. I was obviously learning a huge amount in the first part, which was the best. We lost a bit of time in the stacking and the penalty. That's all part of it, of course. The second half, I started to get a bit of the feeling on the softs and the clean air. And on the inters as well. I felt a lot more comfortable than yesterday, that's for sure. He said about bringing his AlphaTauri, a car he'd never previously driven, home. You always look back, and I'll reflect on this, and there's definitely things I would have liked to do better. But yeah, reasonably satisfied with that. Lawson's most eye-catching moment was overtaking the Ferrari of Charles Leclerc. Although he had lost positions back shortly after, he continued to say, yeah, that was definitely quite eventful, to be fair. I think he was struggling a lot on the softs, and every time I passed him, he passed me back on the straight. So a little bit frustrating, but obviously it is good to get the experience. Yeah, unfortunately, Charles Leclerc did have floor damage, so that is why Liam Lawson was able to pass him on track. But then the Ferrari, with the more pace in the straights, was able to just get back past the AlphaTauri of Liam Lawson. Mark just saying there in the comment section, should Lawson get a seat next year or just a reserve driver again? I mean, he has shown he has some pace here, so possibly he should deserve a seat for next season. But it is a very, very tight Formula 1 grid at the moment. And we don't necessarily know who are going to be in the running for seats next season, with the Formula 1 silly season still not necessarily kicking off just yet. Yeah, we'll have to wait and see whether he can get a full-time Formula 1 seat before the end of the season. Just finishing up with this here, he says, I feel like I had experience of every situation in that race with multiple pit stops, wheel-to-wheel racing, dry weather, wet weather, so it was a good learning experience. Then Christian Horner, after the race, said about Liam Lawson's debut, again, the poor guy getting dropped in the car he's never driven in wet and dry conditions. I actually think he did pretty well, and he actually overtook Max on Max's outlap as he changed onto the intermediate tyres at the end there. To finish a race like that in itself, with the lack of experience that he has, I thought in very difficult circumstances he applied himself very well. Liam Lawson is expected to be back for at least one more race next weekend in Monza, and reports on Monday morning suggested that he could be needed for Singapore too as Ricciardo recovers. So, very impressed by the rookie of Liam Lawson. Certainly will be watching what he's able to do this next race weekend in Monza. Hopefully he'll be able to have another great weekend, another clean weekend for the AlphaTauri team, and we could possibly see him also in the race seat for Singapore as well. Moving on to our last article though, speaking about Max Verstappen, our current Formula 1 champion, our Formula 1 points leader at the moment as well. Max Verstappen is on a roll, but could the Monza curse end it all? Of course, Monza is the next race on our Formula 1 calendar, and off the back of the Dutch Grand Prix, Max Verstappen is certainly going to be wanting to keep his tally of Formula 1 races going. But by winning the Dutch Grand Prix, not only did Max Verstappen win his third consecutive home Grand Prix, also his ninth consecutive race this season. Heading back to Monza next weekend, the two-time defending world champion will look to win a record-breaking 10th consecutive Grand Prix. However, a dark cloud looms over that Italian circuit, with the Red Bull Racing Daily revealing that 3 winners before Verstappen have fallen victims to the curse of Monza. And could Max Verstappen be the next victim to that curse? For those of you who don't know, what is the Monza curse? First things firstly, the Monza curse is only a fan-fed theory, but one that has gained credibility by each passing year. The theory suggests that the driver who wins the race one year fails to even cross the finish line the following year. In 2019, Charles Leclerc won the Monza Grand Prix after an epic showdown with Mercedes' Valtteri Bottas. However, in the following year, the Monegasque driver suffered a horrific crash, making a turn at the iconic Parabolica. With Leclerc out, Pierre Gasly in AlphaTauri grabbed his maiden Formula 1 win in 2020. The next year, though, Pierre Gasly could not even go halfway through the first lap as he crashed into the barrier after the first couple of corners. The crash gave way to a third winner in 3 years in Italy, with Daniel Ricciardo securing P1 while driving for McLaren. As one would expect by now, Ricciardo too did not finish the race in 2022 after suffering an engine failure mid-race. Thus, Verstappen won the race, putting him next in line to face the Monza curse. So, could Max Verstappen face the biggest challenge of his Formula 1 season? Not only did Verstappen's win in Monza mark his 5th consecutive win of the bygone season, but it also marked his first ever Formula 1 race win in Italy. Although a finish behind the safety car put a dampener on the win, the Red Bull car was still the fastest throughout the weekend, with his team believing he deserved the win under any circumstance. Having defeated all the challenges so far, Verstappen now faces potentially his biggest challenge this season. Given he crashed in Italy 2 seasons ago, the biggest question on race day will be whether he can reverse the curse that has haunted past winners with no clear challenge from opposing teams or even the weather conditions. Only time will tell if the Monza curse will stop Verstappen, or whether Verstappen will be able to break that curse this season. Yes, it's going to be interesting whether that curse will be able to come back and bite Max Verstappen. As Ashke Diman says, their curses don't work on Max. We'll have to wait and see, though, this weekend, if that is true. Of course, Max Verstappen will be hoping that curse will not come back to bite him, because he will be wanting to take a new record of race win tallies in a row. Yeah, it has been a very exciting season, though, so far. Whether we will get that curse coming to bite Max Verstappen, maybe we'll get a different winner then for a race, because it has been quite some time since we have had a different race winner for a Formula 1 race. But as Ashke says, their curses don't really work on Max Verstappen. We'll have to wait and see if that is true, though, this next race weekend. Thank you very much, though, for joining me here on Forever Motorsports for my daily Formula 1 news roundup. It has been a very busy day here today. Please do be sure to go and check all of our links in the description for all of our social medias. I do post on TikTok, Instagram, Twitter as well. And I do also post a lot of shorts videos here on YouTube. Thank you very much, though, for watching me here on Forever Motorsports for our daily Formula 1 live news video. I have been Reese. Thank you very much for watching. Hello and welcome to Forever Motorsports, here for our daily Formula One live news roundup. Quite a lot to talk about today. Great to say that, of course, once again in another race week. Lewis Hamilton, though, is our topic of discussion. First things off here today, with some more light being shed on his contract. So, moving straight into this article then, Lewis Hamilton's expected agreed salary and sticking point in new Mercedes deal. Lewis Hamilton has reportedly agreed the salary and length of his new contract with Mercedes, but there's still one problem. The superstar, 7-time Formula One world champion, has been locked in negotiations all year to extend the deal that is set to expire at the end of 2023. Hamilton and team principal Toto Wolff have constantly insisted an agreement is a formality, yet the contract has not yet been signed. The likely agreed salary is around £50 million a year, according to The Sun. That sum would restore Hamilton to the highest paid status, above Max Verstappen on the list of Formula One driver salaries. Although contracts frequently carry bonuses for race or championship wins, the duration of Hamilton's new contract is also being agreed. According to the same report, it is expected to be about 2 years. But there is a sticking point. The one problem for Lewis Hamilton is the amount of time that he will be contractually obliged to be available for the Mercedes sponsors. Hamilton is understandably willing to play hardball, the report states. Hamilton or Wolff did not offer any updates on the contract saga at the Dutch Grand Prix. Hamilton, though, suggested it was not worked upon during the summer break. This claim that Hamilton and Mercedes are negotiating how much time he must dedicate to sponsorship activities was also touted by David Coulthard. Coulthard told the Irish News Mercedes will want a certain amount of time for Lewis for their partners. Mercedes would have sold sponsorship on obtaining access to their drivers. Some businesses will have signed up with a Silver Arrow because Lewis is there, rather than George Russell. Perhaps Lewis might be wanting to do fewer days or have fewer commitments. This is something we've been seeing in later years with Lewis Hamilton. He wants to do less commitments with sponsors, less commitments after races and before races, and this is understandable as he has been in Formula One for multiple years now. He will be wanting to commit less and less time to race weekends and will be wanting to have more personal time to himself. So we'll have to wait and see what happens in terms of this contract and what Mercedes and Lewis Hamilton are able to flesh out in terms of him getting pen on paper. Yeah, let us know though in the comment section. Please do vote in that poll, which currently asks, will Hamilton accept Mercedes terms? Currently 50% saying yes and 50% saying no, with Mark also saying in the comment section their morning. Thank you very much for joining me for this morning session, our live stream here. We do have 5 people currently watching. Please do drop me a comment, say good morning, let me know where you are watching from, as well as do drop some comments and questions for me for this live show. We'll move on though from that Lewis Hamilton article if there are no more questions. But yeah, moving on then, Max Verstappen's major reveal with Lando Norris firmly on Red Bull's radar. Max Verstappen has revealed that he has spoken with Max Verstappen has revealed that he has spoken with McLaren's Lando Norris about one day being teammates. Verstappen and Norris are arguably the 2 hottest prospects in Formula One, with the Dutchman having turned potential into performance, while Lando Norris is considered one of the best young drivers on the grid. And with McLaren looking unlikely to win a championship anytime soon, there is a question mark as to whether Norris may choose to leave, although the driver himself has frequently denied this. Max Verstappen admits teammate discussion with Lando Norris. Norris to Red Bull rumours are nothing new and have only grown following some choice words by senior advisor Helmut Marko. When speaking about why Lewis Hamilton would not make a good partner for Verstappen, Marko let slip something about Norris. With Norris, I could well imagine that it's harder for me with Hamilton though, Marko told motorsportmagazine.com. It would certainly be ideal for the public, television and journalists, but not for team leadership and success. It would appear that Verstappen is not against the idea himself. The two are known to be good friends and live near each other in Monaco. As such, the Dutchman has admitted that they have previously discussed the idea before going on to state, Norris has a long-term contract with McLaren though. We talk about it, said Verstappen in an interview with Sky Sports Italy. But he's contracted to McLaren for a long time. But we'll see what happens in the future. Marko has also made clear that they put team harmony first and do not like having two number one drivers, which could make a move for Norris potentially more difficult. We as a team prioritize the World Championship, and it's better if you have... my article's just jumped around here. Of course it has. Marko has also made clear that they put team harmony first and do not like having two number one drivers, which could make a move for Norris potentially more difficult. We as a team prioritize the World Championship, and it's better if you have a certain hierarchy, said Marko. I don't want to say a number one driver, but that is certainly who is faster. The atmosphere in the team cannot suffer. If we look at something like Ayrton Senna and Alain Prost, you'd have two superstars who only look at each other and put the team in second place. Norris is contracted to McLaren until 2025 and has frequently stated his desire to stay with the team that he has spent his whole career at. Certainly very interesting to see whether we'll have McLaren and Max Verstappen as teammates in the future. I think they'd work quite well as teammates. We can ask some of you though in the comment section. Mark's there saying, do you think Hamilton wants to take the contract, Reese? I certainly think Hamilton will want to stay with Mercedes for the long-term future because, as I said already, he is very comfortable with the team. He knows them quite well. He's comfortable with their dynamic. Just putting up a new poll now. But yeah, I think Hamilton is going to want to take another McLaren or Mercedes seat there because he has been with them for a long amount of time. He doesn't necessarily want to go to the likes of a Ferrari where he has to build up that team again from the ground up. Certainly he'll be hoping that Mercedes can get their act together in terms of their pace, but I think they can, and it's just an amount of time to wait until they do get that contract signed. Mark there saying, no, do I want Hamilton to take the contract? Well, I think I wouldn't mind Hamilton taking the contract. I think it would be very interesting to see him in a Ferrari, but I think it's most plausible to have Hamilton in that Mercedes seat, and I think it's probably the best place for him. So let me carry on with this next poll. Do you think Lando Norris could make a move to Red Bull? There we go. So, carrying on with the Red Bull topic though, Horner and Marko appear at odds over Sergio Perez's future at Red Bulls. This is an article from WTF1, and it starts off by saying it feels like we've got a little bit of a parenting crisis at Red Bull, with two very important figures in the team's well-oiled machine giving completely different answers on Sergio Perez's future. Earlier this week, it was reported in an article published by Kleine Zeitung that the Red Bull Motorsport advisor Helmut Marko had admitted that Sergio Perez was actually in danger of losing his Formula 1 seat for 2024. He said, nothing is 100% certain in Formula 1 and that performance-related situations always need to be discussed. He then doubled down on these comments in Zandvoort, telling Sky Germany that Red Bull would likely keep him on, but he needs to perform for that. Perez's future has remained uncertain for a while, with many fans believing that bringing Daniel Ricciardo into AlphaTauri was a way of gearing him up to replace Checo in 2024. But those involved with Red Bull keep denying that they were even looking at those options until now. However, Christian Horner completely contradicted Helmut Marko's comments after Sunday's Dutch Grand Prix. He told the media, including the race, that Checo's situation for next year is clear. He's a Red Bull driver. We have an agreement with him. Irrelevant of agreements. We're pleased with the job that he's doing. Saw his drive today. Was unlucky with the pit lane speedometer, but he is second in the World Championship. The only other driver than Max Verstappen to have won Grand Prix this season as well. It is easy to beat up on him when the barometer is so high on the other side, but he will be our driver in 2024. This isn't the first time Helmut Marko and Christian Horner have disagreed. Earlier this year, it was reported that Helmut vouched quite hard for Nick de Vries to drive for AlphaTauri, whereas Horner didn't really want him. And look how that turned out. Checo is contracted with Red Bull until the end of 2024, but before his back-to-back podiums leading up to the summer break, he wasn't in the best form and consecutively failed to make it into Q3 in qualifying 5 times. But it is to be remembered that he is still P2 in the championship. Will Red Bull honor Sergio Perez's contract for 2024, or will he be pushed out like Nick de Vries? It's certainly a very difficult topic in terms of Sergio Perez's future because there's been a lot of talk about it. He has had a couple difficult races, difficult qualifying sessions, but I still believe he does have the consistency and the pace to stay in that Red Bull seat. It's quite tough on him to say that he isn't performing well enough because, as Christian Horner says, he is second in the Constructors' Champion or in the Drivers' Championship already, and he has been performing well enough to keep that seat, in my opinion. Of course, you could have other drivers who could be performing better than him, but at the moment, Sergio Perez really is doing a good enough job to keep that second seat. But this is Formula One. There's a lot of pressure, of course, and we'll have to wait and see what does happen in terms of Sergio Perez's future. Moving over to the next article now, Wolff hits out at Russell myth. The Mercedes team principal does not believe George Russell has any form problems amid a run of poor results. We'll move on from our current poll and we'll ask you about George Russell. Do you think that George Russell has struggled this season? Is going to be my question. Do be sure to go and vote in that poll that is going up in 2 seconds once I finish spelling everything correctly. Do you think Russell has struggled this season? Question mark. And there you go. So do be sure to go and vote in that. The next one then, carrying on with that article. The Mercedes team principal does not believe George Russell has any form problems amid a run of poor results. Mercedes team principal Toto Wolff has hit back at the claims that George Russell is losing his form, branding any criticisms a myth. Russell has found it difficult to replicate his form for the first season with the team, or from his first season with the team. This campaign when he beat Lewis Hamilton and took the only win for Mercedes of the year in the tough W13. He has spoken previously about not feeling comfortable in the car, with his third place in qualifying hampered by late retirement due to contact with Lando Norris at Zandvoort. Even though Russell appears to acknowledge, though, that he is suffering from a poor run of form, Wolff says he is trying to get this out of his head. I'm trying to really bang this into his head that he hasn't lost his form, that it is just a myth and that he's making it up, Wolff told media. You don't unlearn to drive and you don't lose your form. You can have ups and downs like all of us having as racing drivers. But every single weekend, when things have gone against him, it was pretty clear why that was, and it wasn't the driving. In that respect, it's no such thing that in Spa and Budapest, your capability of moving this car is less than good than it is 3 weeks later in Holland. He just needs to have a clean weekend like he did have before, and this one was much better. Wolff insists no intervention is needed despite Russell's results suggesting that he is experiencing a bad run of form. I've never bought into this groove thing or not, he explained. When you or I are having a bad day, nobody knows. But if a driver has a bad day, then he's probably a 10th off, and that makes all the all the difference in qualifying. All the drivers have bad days that are all the drivers have days that are not so good, and we've seen these ups and downs with George. But the quality of the driver he is, I've never doubted him for a minute. Certainly George Russell will be wanting to hear this from his team boss, Toto Wolff, because he has been struggling a little bit since the switch of concepts from the zero side pod concept to the side podded concept. He's really had to change his driving style and adapt his driving style to this new style of car. It's not something that does come easily for a racing driver when you do switch concepts mid-season, and this is possibly why we've been seeing him struggle a little bit more than Lewis Hamilton, whereas the new side podded concept seems to suit Hamilton's driving style a little bit better. Well, I'm sure we'll see George Russell bouncing back quite soon. He had a much better qualifying session on Saturday. This could, of course, translate into race pace as well on a Sunday. So we'll have to wait and see what George Russell is capable of during a Sunday race. But nonetheless, I do believe that George Russell still has pace in that car and that we will see him bounce back from this struggle in terms of his pace over the last 3 race weekends. Moving on though to Aston Martin and Fernando Alonso. Fernando Alonso's magic helps Aston Martin move on from awkward questions for now. Aston Martin came back crashing to reality after its flying start to the 2023 Formula 1 season, with a run of 6 podiums in the first 8 races, followed by a run of 4 races where it didn't even get close. But is a podium at the Dutch Grand Prix evidence that upgrades have got its back on track? Fernando Alonso acquired those 6 early on podiums as Aston Martin made a quantum leap up Formula 1's pecking order over the winter, but it is progress stalled in the middle, but has its progress stalled in the middle of the season at the same time that its rivals brought significant upgrades packages. Upgrades for its rivals like McLaren and Mercedes didn't satisfyingly solve the mystery, though, and the team faced a series of awkward questions when its performance dipped across July's fast flurry of races. Alonso suggested that the change in Pirelli tyres brought in from the British Grand Prix contributed to Aston's disappointing form, but his team found no huge differences between the different specifications. There was also speculation over the summer break that Aston had made changes to its front wing to meet the FIA's flexibility tests, a theory that the race's Scott Mitchell-Mom asked Aston Martin performance director Tom McLaughlin if there was any truth to. We did change the front wing's philosophy a little bit from the start of the year and to during the year, McLaughlin replied at Zandvoort. But this was just part of our constant evolution and development of the car, so no big characteristic changes there from our side. A definitive answer over its performance dip is still up for debate though, but the new question is whether floor updates brought to both Spa and Zandvoort have helped Aston Martin to reverse its decline, or whether its latest podium was simply its star driver doing what he does best. Terrific was Mark Hughes' assessment of Alonso's drive on the Race F1 podcast. A lot of thought went behind it. The move on the inside of George Russell had its roots in practice, just things like as well as the genuine driving brilliance. Some of the moves he's doing on the opening lap and when he's putting the car and how twitchy it is. How he's getting away with it, but he's completely on top of it. You just realize you're watching something very rare. He's still absolutely at the top of his game, and it was a wonderful performance all round really. Albeit red flag assisted, Alonso put himself in position to have half a sniff of a victory in the closing laps of the Dutch Grand Prix. Something he was willing to go fully all in for, rather than playing it safe, as he looks to the inside of race winner Max Verstappen at turn 1, and then at turn 3, after the red flag restart showed. He said after the race, though, that he did believe that he didn't want to make a bit of a move in case he did take out the race leader, or indeed took the race win there, because he feared that he would not be able to get home amid all of the Dutch Grand Prix fans. It was a part of a textbook Alonso drive that started with a typically feisty first lap, where he passed Alex Albon around the outside of turn 2, and then dived down the inside of the banked Hogenholtz turn 3, and nicked third place from George Russell. It would have been a move he'd repeat on Zhou Guanyu later in the race, and one that it had its making in Friday practice. It was FP1 or FP2. It was wet, and in one of the outlaps, I let a few cars go on normal racing. Oh, well, I let a few cars go on the normal racing line, and I found a lot of grip on the inside casually by just letting people go, Alonso explained after the race. So I kept that in my head all the time, all of the weekend in case it was wet. I was ready to try it again. When we were on the grid and the red lights were on for the start of the race, there were lots of drops on the visor, so that's the worst feeling you can have, because you are ready to start the race on a slick tyre, and on your visor you can see that it is raining. You have no idea of the grip that you will find in turn 1 braking or turn 3. So I thought everyone will be a little bit cautious in turn 3 with the grip levels, and also just outside of turn 3 there's paint in the Ramco advertising, so you have to be a little bit cautious there. So I thought about the inside line, it could work, and we overtook those 2 cars. Definitely that should be the overtake of the month. It was a classic tongue-in-cheek Alonso hyperbole, but seek out the replay of the overtake and you'd be hard-pressed to disagree with him. Fernando Alonso, even in his old age, is certainly still on form, and certainly one of the absolute form of the field drivers at the moment. Having an absolute brilliant season so far in his first season back in the Aston Martin suit. We are really, really happy to watch Fernando Alonso go race in and race out, having absolutely fantastic form. Fernando Alonso was also one of the top overtakers for the Dutch Grand Prix. I think he took, must have been about 16 overtakes by himself, if I remember correctly there. But yeah, very, very happy to see that Aston Martin and Fernando Alonso are having a great show of pace and form at the moment. Keeping on with the Fernando Alonso and Aston Martin topic though, not necessarily Fernando Alonso, but Aston Martin have announced a Monza replacement for Lance Stroll. Aston Martin have announced the reserve driver Felipe Drugovich will take part in free practice 1 at the Italian Grand Prix in place of Lance Stroll. Stroll this season has struggled to keep up with his esteemed teammate Fernando Alonso, who has managed to achieve 7 podium finishes in the first 13 races of the season. Let's go and change a poll there. SK also in the comment section saying it would be nice to see Mick racing again. I certainly agree with you there. It would be great to have Mick Schumacher back in the Formula 1 grid. As Mark also giving his opinions there about Fernando Alonso. Let's just end the poll here. Everyone pretty much saying that George Russell has struggled this season. And let's go ask a question about Aston Martin and Fernando Alonso. I'm putting up another poll for you now. So how much longer do you see Stroll staying in Formula 1? Option 1 is he's leaving soon to go and play tennis. There we go. I did spell that right. Leaving soon to play tennis. 2 years. Or till he's bored because his dad owns the team. And there you go. So option 1 is he's leaving soon to go play tennis. 2 years is the middle option. And the third option is until he's bored because his dad owns the team. Oh, I can't put in all of that. Until he's bored will be the last option then. So that is up now. So we will carry on reading this article about Aston Martin and their reserve driver coming in for free practice 1 at the Italian Grand Prix. Stroll has suggested that this season Stroll has struggled this season to keep up with his esteemed teammate Fernando Alonso, who has managed to achieve 7 podium finishes in the first 13 races of the season. In comparison, Stroll hasn't managed a single podium and is currently sat in 9th position in the Drivers' World Championship, whilst the 42-year-old Alonso is third, 121 points ahead of Stroll. Despite this, Aston Martin are happy with Stroll and will be hoping he can push them towards a top 2 finish in the Constructors' Championship as the season goes on. This appearance for Drugovich is simply mandatory as all teams are required to give their reserve drivers at least 2 practice sessions. The Brazilian Italian hasn't appeared in Formula 1 since he took part in testing in Bahrain at the start of the season, where he was required to step in for Stroll after the Canadian suffered a cycling injury. He was quoted as saying, "Since Bahrain, I have covered many more kilometers in an F1 car. So I understand even better now how I can offer valuable feedback," Drugovich told Autosport. Of course, Drugovich will be desperate to impress his Aston Martin team with the hope that one day they will see him as a natural replacement for either Stroll or Alonso if either one of them decides to move on from the sport. Monza was where he won his Formula 2 title last year, and he will be hoping those memories can help him perform well in the car and impress the team. "I can't wait to get behind the wheel of the AMR 23 again," he continued. "The car felt great when I drove it in pre-season testing, and it will be fascinating to see how it has improved since then. I spent a lot of time in the simulator helping to develop the car, so understanding how that relates to reality will also be very valuable. Of course, teams are stipulated by the FIA to allow their young drivers to get into a Formula 1 seat. I think it is at least 2 or 3 times throughout the season, so this will be Aston Martin fulfilling those stipulations here. Moving on though to our final 2 articles, getting on with our friends who all support Ferrari, and hopefully that this won't be bringing them too much tears, but Ferrari will be bringing back their yellow. Ferrari will be bringing back the yellow for special Le Mans inspired Monza livery. So if you haven't seen already, Ferrari have released special race overalls for the race weekend in Monza at their home Grand Prix. So they look a little bit like McDonald's workers, but yeah, they look great nonetheless. Now they also have some yellow on their car to match. So if they didn't look like McDonald's clowns enough, now they do even more with yellow on their Ferrari SF23. Ferrari have added some yellow to their car as they unveil a special livery to be run at their home race this weekend in Monza. Although Imola is closer to their Maranello base, Although Imola is closer to their Maranello base, its inconsistency of appearing on the calendar has allowed Monza to become regarded as the home race of the sport's most famous team. This year, as they have done in previous seasons, Ferrari are honouring their home Grand Prix by racing in a unique livery designed for the Italian Grand Prix. Ferrari invite Le Mans winner and unveil their Monza livery. The car has seen a splash of yellow thrown onto it with the engine cover and driver's number now in the same colour as the Ferrari badge. Unlike last year, the Ferrari logo on the rear wing remains white, but the nose and the inside of the wheel covers have been changed. Carlos Sainz and Charles Leclerc will also wear special race suits, and while they have resisted the urge to return to the full yellow, there is still a healthy dose of the yellow on the overalls and the helmet. As well as the livery, Ferrari will also be bringing along some special guests, most notably Antonio Giovinazzi and Alessandro Pierguidi, who guided the team to Le Mans victory earlier this year, the only victory that Ferrari will get probably this year. Sorry, Ferrari fans. The winner's trophy will be brought to the track by the crew of the 499P car and Antonio Fuoco, who in the number 50 car took pole position and set the fastest race lap at the Le Mans, will also be there. The walls of the walkway leading from the paddock to the pit garage will feature illustrations of the Scuderia's milestones in Formula 1, as well as in other categories where owners have had their cars raced. So pretty much they will only go up until 2007, and that's about it, because there's not much to talk about going on from then onwards. Sorry, Ferrari fans, I'm really going at you today. As Ashke Diman says, I think McDonald's workers would also make better strategies than Ferrari. Gosh, we're really hurting the Ferrari fans here today. Mark was saying, so now Ferrari really does look like McDonald's delivery drivers. gosh, the memes that are going to be coming out about Ferrari this race weekend. I'm going to have to do that meme review a bit later. So moving on to our final article, also talking a little bit about Ferrari. If the first article didn't make you cry, certainly the second one will. Leclerc has hit out at wrong Ferrari moves and bemoans at their inconsistency. Charles Leclerc has admitted that he does not understand what Ferrari are doing wrong after he endured a nightmare Spanish Grand Prix, stating that his car behaved erratically during the race. It's a bit of an old article, but this is not the one that I wanted, but he actually has been speaking about it again recently. Pretty much just saying that he is not really enjoying the way that this car is handling at the moment. He's really struggling to understand. He doesn't understand, or he can't predict when the car is going to have understeer or oversteer. There is just no predictability in the car. And when you have a race car that is doing this, it really, really does not help you. So he continues to say, I don't understand what we are doing wrong, but we are doing something wrong. I went from a first hard tyre to a second hard tyre in the last stint. I don't want to hear about their strategy. We have to understand and work, but it's been a few races now where we are struggling with conditions or having a really peaky car, and today is no better. It did feel better, but the limitations were the opposite, he added. Yesterday I could not drive. I had a rear that was super loose and strange. We will analyze all of this at the factory. The feeling was a little bit better today. The second and third stints were quite a bit better. I feel like all weekend we have been speaking with the drivers and we are struggling. It's such a tiny window, and in these conditions on this track, it seems to be more sensitive than others. So of course this is coming from the Spanish Grand Prix, but Charles Leclerc is still struggling even this race weekend, as he is speaking about the inconsistencies of the SF23. Let me see if I can find it even more recently. There we go. Charles Leclerc says, I have no... please don't tell me this is all in Italian. No, it's not. Thank goodness. Charles Leclerc says, I have no idea if I will understeer or oversteer. Charles Leclerc lacks confidence in the SF23 and its handling. A fact he outlined through a difficult weekend in Zandvoort. The Monegasque's attempts to find the car's limits, but he explains that the inconsistent feedback prevents this. Ferrari started the year with some relevantly promising speed in Bahrain, albeit not enough to challenge Red Bull. A DNF in Bahrain, grid penalty in Jeddah, pole position in Baku, and second DNF in Australia made it difficult to gauge Leclerc's raw potential at the early stages of 2023. He continues to say, we've had a very difficult balance and a very difficult car to drive all weekend. We definitely need to look into it because we're struggling a lot with the car balance, especially. It makes it very difficult for us to drive. At the moment, I'm getting into a corner and I have zero idea of whether I'm going to have a huge understeer or huge oversteer. And that makes it very, very difficult for us. A completely new package has been promised by Ferrari for 2024, with technical director Enrico Cardile hoping to correct the inherent weakness from this season. There will be a few upgrades to the SF20. Gosh, I'm really struggling. There will be a few upgrades to the SF23 in the next 9 rounds, but a significant overhaul over the winter will be required to make a drastic step forward. This is certainly not what Ferrari fans would be wanting to hear going into this Monza race weekend, because they would be wanting the Ferraris to have a little bit more pace and be wanting to challenge possibly for podium positions, but it certainly does not seem very likely at this stage. So, very disappointing to hear that Ferrari are still struggling with their upgrades and with their package, and we'll be hoping that they do get to the bottom of this before next season, because we want to see them being able to challenge for a title fight. Nonetheless, though, that is it from me here today for my live daily news roundup. Thank you very much for watching me here on Forever Motorsports. Do be sure to like the video, subscribe to the channel. We are so close now to 1,000 subscribers. And we do appreciate every single one of you for watching alongside with us. Thank you to Ashke and Mark for being in the comment section. I don't know who else was watching alongside with us. We have 6 of you all watching alongside with us concurrently. Please do be sure to drop a comment and a like in the comment section. Yeah, thank you very much for watching. I have been Reese. Welcome to Monza, home of the Italian Grand Prix. Home heroes Ferrari will be wanting to put on a great showing this weekend for their home crowd, the Tifosi, who line the stands of Monza, hoping to catch a glimpse of another historic victory for the Maranello-based outfit. Monza is an 8.7km long circuit, made up of 11 corners. The track is the fastest on the Formula 1 calendar, made up of long straights that push the drivers and their car to the limit, with top speeds reaching around 350 km an hour, before they slam on the brakes for the tight chicane that makes up turn 1 and 2. The circuit also has tricky technical sectors that rarely test the driver's limits, such as the Ascari chicane. Monza is one of the longest running Formula 1 races, having been on the calendar since 1921, with the most successful constructor being the home favourites Ferrari, who have won at their home circuit an impressive 20 times, as well as the most successful driver being Mick Schumacher with 5 wins at the Temple of Speed. Watch now as you take a lap around the circuit in the Ferrari World Endurance Championship car. Be sure to like the video and subscribe to the channel for more Formula 1 content, and we hope you'll join us for our coverage of the Italian Grand Prix. Hello and welcome to Forever Motorsports, here for our daily live news roundup. So for today, we're going to get straight into the news. I see I do have a few of you all watching alongside with me. Please do be sure to drop a like and let me know where you're watching from. So straight into this first news article today. Christian Horner takes aim at short-termist nature of rival Formula 1 team principals. Christian Horner has said this generation of Formula 1 team managers are more short-termist than their predecessors, focusing only on their little area rather than the sport as a whole. Having been in Formula 1 for 18 years, Horner has shared the paddock with a number of different team principals and the many personalities that they bring. Starting at the time with the likes of Bernie Eccleston, Max Mosley, Jean Todt, Ron Dennis, and Flavio Briatore, with big names in the sport. Horner has seen Formula 1 go through quite the evolution. Christian Horner suggests that the current crop of Formula 1 bosses are unlike the old. Horner is the sole team principal left standing from Red Bull's debut year in 2005, with the role of boss dramatically different than it was in those days. Having had a foot in both camps, Horner remarked that the modern generation of Formula 1 bosses are very short-termist and focused solely on their little area. I had the privilege of seeing up close how some legendary leaders were opening were operating when I first came into the sport, he exclusively told PlanetF1.com. Bernie Eccleston and Max Mosley were running the business very tightly. But then there was Ron Dennis, there was Jean Todt, there was Flavio Briatore. Big personalities and big characters. I suppose the difference between now and then is that we are all quite entrepreneurial, and that the thoughts of the bigger picture, whereas now you see a bunch of managers in the room that are very short-termist with only focus on their little area. So that's been an interesting change. Since he arrived in the sport, Horner has gone on to become one of the most successful team principals in Formula One history, but insisted he did not style himself on any of the predecessors, choosing to instead use the skills he learned as an owner of the Formula 3000 team, Aston. There's nobody that I modelled myself on, the 49-year-old said. I had a lot of admiration for them, whether it was Ron or Frank or what Jean Todt did, Flavio in his flamboyant way as well. They're all very different, but one commonality that they all had was that they would do the best that they could for their team and assemble the right group of people together. So that is, of course, what Christian Horner is going on to say there. Nothing too crazy, of course. We know that he has been around for quite some time in Formula One. And yeah, glad to see, though, that he is still in Formula One, of course, and should be for quite some time to come. I see we have some regulars marked there in the comment section, Taya, as well. Thank you for joining me. Please do be sure to vote in that poll. Currently, no one's voted for anyone other than Red Bull. The question has been, who do you think will win in Monza? And 100% of the votes going to Red Bull right now. Moving on from that first article, staying with Red Bull though, Red Bull chief slams the door on his Formula 1 star joining Max Verstappen on this Formula 1 star. Helmut Marko appeared to close the door on the prospect of Alex Albon ever returning to Red Bull, as he has had his chance. The British Thai racer was still very new to Formula 1 when he was promoted to the top team from sister outfit AlphaTauri, and he was given more of a chance than the man he replaced mid-season, Pierre Gasly. But Albon still couldn't make it stick. He did enough in the second half of that 2019 campaign to earn a full season as Max Verstappen's teammate, but despite a couple of podiums, he was replaced and spent the following year on the sidelines. His Formula 1 future in doubt. Aided by Red Bull, he landed a race seat with Williams for the last season, and was very impressive, earning a new multi-year deal with the team. And he has built on that with some more very impressive performances so far this season. His form has attracted the interest of other teams, including the two who tried but failed to sign him for this season. Paddock rumours suggest he is on Ferrari's list of potential replacements if one of its drivers were to leave in the next couple of years, but it seems a return to Red Bull is not on the cards. Long-serving advisor Helmut Marko appears to have confirmed as much. The Austrian heaped praise upon Albon, but suggested his team is not interested in living in the past and would prefer to consider other options. He said, Max's teammate has a very tough and difficult life. Albon has already had his chance. He has improved remarkably since then, but at the moment there is no driver who is on Max's level. Albon recently admitted he is flattered by the links to the top teams, but reaffirmed his commitment to Williams. He said, good rumours are always nice. I think it just underscores that this year has been going well so far. I'm happy to hear those things. Of course it's just rumours, but I'm not complaining. In another recent interview he added, the focus is on Williams, and making sure we bring this team up to the front. And then, let's see what happens. I want to go forward, and the team want to progress. I'm sure the team also, in some ways, understands if there's another avenue to go down, they would not hold me back. So, certainly not what we wanted to hear for Alex Albon. We would love to see him in that Red Bull seat, but of course, Helmut Marko saying there that it is not a possibility for them, and we aren't really going to be seeing him in that seat in the current future. Still sticking with Red Bull, lots of news about them here today. This was almost my title for today, but it is a little bit too clickbaity. Formula One rumours, there are already agreements about a separation between Perez and Red Bull. Sergio Perez's days at Red Bull are numbered, and Ralf Schumacher believes Helmut Marko's not warm-hearted way of dealing with Perez is to blame for the driver's slump. Just reading the comments there quickly, Mark saying Albon must get a proper seat. Certainly, we want to see him in a proper seat for the future. Hopefully, he will get either another long-term contract with Williams, because they seem to be doing quite a lot better at the moment, or maybe he could get a seat in another top team. We'll have to wait and see though. Carrying on with Sergio Perez's article. Sergio Perez's days at Red Bull are numbered, and Ralf Schumacher believes Helmut Marko's not warm-hearted way of dealing with Perez is to blame for the driver's slump. Perez's position at Red Bull has been tentative of late, with the Mexican driver falling out of the championship race early in the season when he strung together 5 miserable qualifying sessions. And with his teammate Max Verstappen going on a charge, that meant even when Perez was back inside the pole position shootout, momentum was and remains to this day firmly with the Dutchman. Scoring 96 points since Miami, the first race in Verstappen's 9-race winning streak, to the Dutchman's 220, Perez trails his teammate by 139 points in the championship, and is, as Marko and Christian Horner agree, out of the title fight. But that's all they agree on, as Horner has insisted Perez will be our driver in 2024. Well, while Marko says nothing is 100% certain in Formula 1, and that there are always performance-related situations somewhere that need to be discussed. And it's the Red Bull Motorsport advisor's comment that Schumacher is leaning towards as fact. Sergio Perez once again made a mistake when he drove into the barriers at the entrance to the pits, and this action also resulted in a penalty that cost him second place in the end. The 6-time Grand Prix winner wrote in his post-race Sky Deutschland column, "I think his days at Red Bull are numbered. Dr. Helmut Marko is not exactly known for his warm-hearted way of dealing with Perez. I think that Perez as a guy can't deal with that so well. That's how I explain these serious mistakes." Perez looked very grumpy, disappointed, and also absent all weekend. I think that there were already agreements about a separation after the end of the season. This would certainly be against what Sergio Perez, Christian Horner, and Helmut Marko have been saying. They all do believe that he does have still a race seat for the end of the season and next season, but we never really know what is going to happen in Formula 1. Yeah, very, very interesting to see, though, that there is a bit of a parenting crisis, as we spoke about yesterday, at Red Bull, with Christian Horner saying one thing, Helmut Marko saying another thing. And yeah, we don't really know what is going to happen with the likes of Sergio Perez in the future. So we'll have to really wait and watch as to what happens there. But Sergio Perez also goes on to explain why he has been a step or two behind while adapting to a driving style with a developed RB19. Red Bull driver Sergio Perez has opened up on his efforts to rediscover the eye-catching form he displayed in the early stages of the 2023 season, admitting that the developments to the RB19 sometimes didn't really suit me and left him needing to work harder. Perez started the year with 2 pole positions and 2 wins in 5 events to shadow teammate Max Verstappen in the driver's standings, only for qualifying struggles and a general lack of confidence to take hold and derail his championship challenge. In a Sky Sports Formula 1 interview conducted by Formula 1 strategist Bernie Collins, whom he previously worked with at McLaren and Force India, Perez shared some more details about his adaptation to the Red Bull over the last 2.5 seasons and how it is still a work in progress. There are a lot of things that are so different, Perez explained. How you look after tyres, for example, is one of the biggest things. How you drive is completely different. You are able to do things that with a Force India you cannot do, or you cannot even think of doing. Pushed on whether he's continuing to learn and improve, the 6-time Grand Prix winner added, "Yeah, the progression is there. For a driver, it's really difficult to be adapting the car instead of just the things coming naturally. The last few races, I've been like a step or 2 behind, and always thinking consciously how I have to drive the car. Sometimes with how the car has been developed, it doesn't really suit me as much, so I have to work harder on it. But I think, in Hungary and Belgium, for example, those have been good. Standing on the podium, hopefully we can keep that momentum going, because at the end of the day, we've got a great race car." Perez also offered some more insights into the aforementioned challenging run, starting with a heavy Q1 crash in Monaco that saw him lose significant ground to Max Verstappen in just a handful of races. Asked about the pressure at the start of the season and how it compared to previous experiences, he said, "It was different this time, obviously, because, we started the year so high. You're thinking you are a championship contender, you won 2 races. Then all of a sudden, you feel like, this weekend doesn't feel like it did before. So you're losing confidence because you're not fully confident with the car. In Formula 1, if you're not fully confident with a car at 250 kilometers an hour into a corner, then you're doubting a little bit more. And it's really what happened in those moments. It would have been easy to sit back and say, it's too hard for me, and so on. But at the end of the day, you just have to get on with it. Like I said, I just look forward to keeping this momentum going with the team." Despite his tricky spell, Perez remains second in the Drivers' Championship after 13 races, albeit 138 points behind Verstappen, while Red Bull set 258 points clear of Mercedes in the Constructors' Championship. Well, Sergio Perez still remains quite confident that he can bounce back from his bit of a slump, but we'll have to wait and see what he can do in Monza. Of course, he was robbed from that second place position because of his mistakes in Zandvoort, losing it into turn 1 in those tricky conditions, and then hitting into the pit lane, losing even more time, and getting that penalty, resulting in him finishing in 4th position. Yeah, well, let's see what you're all saying there in the comment section. Well, nothing too much there, but let's get a different poll going up. Do you think that Sergio Perez is going to lose his race seat? If I can type here. There we go. Mark just saying that Perez will lose his seat at the end of 2024. That I certainly don't have any doubt of. But I'm more wanting to know what's going to happen with him next year because, yeah, there's a lot of talk about what could happen for that seat. Of course, we want another competitive driver in that seat. If Perez isn't going to be able to challenge Verstappen, then I think it should go to someone who is going to be able to. Because, yeah, I think that is only really fair. So moving on though away from Red Bull finally, sorry to all of those who don't necessarily want to hear about Red Bull all the time, but we're moving on to a little bit of a chat about McLaren. McLaren are still vulnerable despite fashioning an urgent Monza wing upgrade. The McLaren Formula 1 team is still likely to be vulnerable at the end of this weekend's Italian Grand Prix, despite fashioning an updated lower drag wing that it previously acknowledged was urgently needed in Spa. Lando Norris found it impossible to race other cars at the Belgium Grand Prix before the summer break, as McLaren's rear wing meant he was extremely exposed on the long Spa straights. McLaren had been prioritizing the development and production of major upgrades, which transformed the car's overall performance and isolated developments like a low drag wing. It acknowledged during the Spa weekend and again after that difficult race that urgent work was required to find a better solution for Monza, which is an even more straight line speed sensitive track. The mandatory 2-week shutdown during the summer break meant that McLaren had limited time to put a plan into action, and that means the type of bespoke Monza special wing that some teams might produce or have already run at Spa seems extremely unlikely. Team principal Andrea Stella had already hinted at McLaren's solution would be to modify an existing wing, as he has effectively confirmed that, although there was also a redesign required to be able to do it. "We are making some adjustments," said Stella. "We needed to urgently activate some actions to find some top speed, because Monza is going to set some challenges, similar to what we had at Spa. There will be some modifications which hopefully will allow us to not only be quick in terms of lap time, but also raceable in terms of top speed." Asked by the race at the Dutch Grand Prix last weekend whether he expected a bespoke Monza wing or an existing one that McLaren had physically trimmed, Norris smiled and said, "No comment." When Stella was asked by the race what action had been taken, he confirmed, "We will make modifications to existing wings." But in order to make this level of modifications, we needed to make the wings from a construction point of view to be able to actually be modified like they will need to be modified for Monza. Gosh. It will be a combination of changes on top of the wings we had in Spa. Given the long start-finish straight at Monza, that may not be enough, and Norris gave an air of trepidation regarding McLaren's prospects for a race it won 2 years ago. Asked if he is expecting it to be a tough weekend, Norris replied, "Yes. There's been so much focus on trying to get the car we have now, which is completely the correct decision to have done. So much focus and time spent on creating this. There's some things we are quite far behind at. But I'd happily take 80% good races and 20% bad races rather than the vice versa. We know it, we admit it, which is why I think it is a good thing. But we know we are in for a pretty tough race." One benefit for McLaren is that it has been able to switch development focus to other items like the rear wings and did introduce a new one at Zandvoort last weekend. While it will be no use for Monza, it is a slightly lower downforce and drag option that is a contender to be used from Singapore onwards. McLaren heads to what is likely to be one of its weakest remaining tracks of the season, off the back of a clear missed opportunity at Zandvoort last weekend. Norris continued the strong form McLaren has showed post-upgrade by qualifying second, but McLaren bungled when the switch to intermediate tyres when a sudden downforce happened on the opening lap of the Grand Prix. The team denied Norris's request to change quickly and kept him out on slicks until the end of lap 3, thinking the shower would pass and that it would be better to survive on the softs to avoid unnecessary pit stops. Norris was also very vocal on the team radio as to why they were doing this and wanted to come straight into the pits. He did eventually make that switch and became a lot happier after that when he was on the correct tyres. But yes, hopefully we will get the McLarens being a lot more competitive this race weekend because we want to see more teams fighting for those top positions. Mark saying here in the comment section, so McLaren will be even faster this weekend. Red Bull, watch out. I certainly think they could be quite competitive in the qualifying sessions. Whether they're going to be competitive in the race, we'll have to wait and see. I'm certainly hoping there will be. And let's ask you guys in the comment section, do you think that McLaren will be competitive? I almost said Spa. We are in Monza, not Spa. That is now up. So let's just see if there's any more comments from you guys. No, nothing. But we'll carry on nonetheless. Moving on to an article about Ferrari and Carlos Sainz. Carlos Sainz believes that Ferrari will be challenging for a podium at Monza. The Scuderia had a poor weekend at last week's Dutch Grand Prix. However, the Spaniard believes that Scuderia can get back on track at their home race in Monza. Carlos Sainz believes Ferrari will be challenging for a podium finish at their home race at Monza this weekend after a disappointing weekend at Zandvoort. The Maranello team returns to their home race in Monza for the 2023 Italian Grand Prix. The team has not found success at their home race since Charles Leclerc's victory at the 2019 Italian Grand Prix. The Scuderia are heading into their home race after a disappointing weekend at the last weekend's Dutch Grand Prix. Carlos Sainz managed to reach the checkered flag in 5th, whereas Leclerc had to retire his car due to floor damage. Both drivers complained about the unpredictability of the SF23, with Leclerc crashing in qualifying, as both drivers complained of having zero idea of how the car behaved when on the limit. Ferrari reserve driver Robert Schwartzman even complained about the loose rear end of his Ferrari SF23 in practice 1 session when he filled in for Carlos Sainz. Changes to the Ferrari car for 2024 are in the pipeline, with the Scuderia having regressed a lot from the start of the season due to the regulations. They were fighting for victories against Red Bull at the start of the 2022 season. However, since then, the Maranello team has not been able to develop their car efficiently compared to their rival teams. Ferrari have made it clear though that their 2024 car will be a completely new concept, with the Italian team being confident that their issues with the SF23 are fully understood. However, changes cannot be made to the car this year, so the team must persevere with their current car for the rest of the season. Carlos Sainz has spoken to Sky Sports regarding the matter, believing that the team has understood the issues with the SF23. However, he has admitted that the team have to ride it out for the rest of the 23 season. Don't get me wrong, he said, we have started to understand what it is with the handling, but there is very little margin to correct it now that the car is built and the car is pretty much done and developed. We know we need to change things though for next year, but for this year, circuits like Zandvoort and with windy conditions and high downforce tracks, we are simply going to be slow. The general feeling about the team though is that the Scuderia perform better on low downforce tracks. Last weekend's trip to Zandvoort, Sainz was Ferrari's quickest qualifier, qualifying 1.1 seconds behind pole sitter Max Verstappen. Zandvoort is a high downforce track with the amount of fast corners. Sainz has admitted he was happy to be able to fight with the faster cars throughout the Dutch Grand Prix. The Spaniard believed that the Italian team had the 6th quickest car that weekend. We were fighting with the cars that were a lot quicker than us the whole weekend, Sainz said. It was just a whole race of fighting through, getting the cores right. Our pace was nowhere near that to earn 5th place. It means we executed the race well though. We did everything well. I'm happy with the result, not happy with how much I struggled and how difficult it was out there for us. However, due to a podium finish in Spa, Sainz believes that Ferrari will be able to challenge for a podium finish at the team's home race in Monza. For Monza, I expect things to be better because in Spa we were a lot quicker than what we were in Zandvoort. And I think honestly, at low downforce tracks, we should be better and we should be back to our normal positions. Ferrari are fourth in the Constructors' Championship. The Scuderia are behind rivals Mercedes and Aston Martin in the championship, showing a disappointing season so far. Do you think that Ferrari will be able to fight for podium positions though in Monza this race weekend? Mark saying Ferrari, challenge. They are quite a challenge, I suppose. Yeah, lots of disappointment and not necessarily any more confidence in Ferrari. I mean, no one really ever believes that they're going to be able to challenge anymore. I mean, it's really sad because we have had a really competitive Ferrari last season. Then they all just seem to lose their momentum going on to the race weekend in, I think it was France. And then from then onwards, their season just really unraveled. And it's been really disappointing. We want to see them being able to fight it out again. And we want to see them on the back on podiums and race wins. So hopefully we will get them returning to their pace and their form next season, with them hopefully going to a completely different concept. I see though that our McLaren poll has said that they are going to be competitive, and Mark saying Ferrari missed the V10 and V12 engines. I think everyone misses those V10 and V12 engines, to be very honest with you. Moving over to our last 3 articles now, Alfa Romeo have revealed a striking Formula 1 livery for the Italian Grand Prix. The Alfa Romeo team have unveiled a special livery for the Italian Grand Prix to celebrate the Alfa 33 Stradale. For those of you who do not know, Alfa Romeo has also released a new road car, a very limited road car, a supercar by the looks of it. We don't know too much about it, but it is an absolute beauty based on their historic 33 Stradale road car from the 90s, if I remember correctly. The striking one-off look featuring gold accents and highlights on an Italian flag tricolore and adorns the engine. The striking one-off look features gold accents and highlights on an Italian flag tricolore that adorns the engine cover. Will be used throughout the Monza weekend by Alfa Romeo duo Valtteri Bottas and Zhou Guanyu. The Sauber Run squad, which has also run a handful of sponsor-led livery tweaks this year, will end its Formula 1 partnership with Alfa Romeo. at the conclusion of the 2023 season. The Italian Grand Prix effectively marking the Alliance's last home race. To celebrate the occasion, the team has opted to pay tribute to the launch of Alfa Romeo's latest car, the 33 Stradale, which has launched at the Alfa Romeo Museum near Milan, 56 years on from the original launch of the car. As we approached our home race in Monza, it's a pleasure to unveil this incredible livery, a true tribute not only to the 33 Stradale, but also to the Alfa Romeo as a whole, and to the country it hails from, Italy. Sauber boss Alessandro Aluni Bravo said, or Bravi. The Formula One team ends its Alfa Romeo partnership at the end of the Abu Dhabi Grand Prix, as it prepares to become the factory Audi outfit when the German engine manufacturer enters the series in 2026. Alfa Romeo has expressed interest in staying in the Formula One paddock, with reports emerging recently linking it to a sponsorship deal with the Haas Formula One team. Last June, Haas Formula One boss Günther Steiner indicated that the team was open to joining up with Alfa Romeo, but no formal talks had begun. Haas already has a long-term title sponsorship arrangement in place with MoneyGram, and Steiner said that any occasion with Alfa Romeo would have to accommodate that. Alfa Romeo will hope the new look gives it a boost on the track, having failed to score any points since the Canadian Grand Prix back in June, and it's stuck in 9th place in the Formula One World Constructors' Championship, only ahead of AlphaTauri. Last time out at the Dutch Grand Prix, Williams made a strong stride in the battle of the low runners as Alex Albon took 8th place to push the British squad 4 points clear of Haas in 7th in the driver's standings. We will have to wait and see whether this new look for Alfa Romeo does allow it to get a little bit further up the grid. It certainly is an absolutely beautiful looking livery, and yeah, I hope to see it doing quite well out in Monza. As Mark says there in the comment section, the Alfa Romeo livery is beautiful. Moving on to our second to last article here, with a new Formula One and FIA clampdown on rules. So the Formula One teams face a flexi-wing clampdown as tricks are revealed. Formula One teams face a fresh clampdown on flexi-wings after this weekend's Italian Grand Prix. Motorsport.com can reveal, with the FIA moving to counter tricks it believes are illegal. Let's find it. As first reported earlier this month, the FIA has been taking a close look at flexible wings over the first half of the season, as it believes teams have been pushing the boundaries in terms of what is allowed. It is understood that several teams, including Aston Martin, were advised to make changes to their front wing designs around the time of the Azerbaijan Grand Prix in a bid to ensure that they did not fall foul of any rule breaches. But as a part of a ramped-up effort to stop any attempt at getting around the regulations, the FIA has now issued a formal technical directive outlining what it believes are unacceptable designs with regards to flexible bodywork. In Technical Directive 18, a copy of what has been seen on Motorsports.com and was sent to teams ahead of the Dutch Grand Prix weekend, the FIA states that it believes outfits are exploiting regulations of purposefully designed, localized compliance, plus relative motion between adjacent components to deliver a significant boost to aerodynamic performance. In plain English, that just means teams are exploiting a loophole in the regulations which allows for bendy wings to gain a performance advantage. So it states that any design that operates like this is in breach of Article 3.2.2 of the Formula One's technical regulations, which states that any components that influence a car's aerodynamic performance must be rigidly secure and immobile with respect to their frame of reference defined in Article 3.3. Furthermore, these components must produce a uniform, solid, hard, continuous, impervious surface under all circumstances. The FIA has been prompted into action because it believes that teams are exploiting sophisticated systems that rotate and flex front and rear wing elements in ways that cannot be detected through their regular load tests. It has made it clear that any assembly designs that exploit the localized compliance or degrees of freedom are not permitted. the FIA duly outlined 4 key design elements that it considers to be in breach of the technical rules, but suggests there may be other ideas at play that could be illegal as well. The teams are stipulated that they have to produce all of their drawings in regards to these regulations and rule breaks by the end of September. So they are wing elements that can translate vertically, longitudinally, or laterally relative to the bodywork that they are fixed to. Number 2 is wing elements that can rotate relatively to the bodywork that they are fixed to, such as rotating around one fixing, designs that utilize elastomeric fillets, compliant sections of the wing profile, or thin flexible laminate at a junction that can either distort, deflect out of plane, or twist to permit localized deflection relative to the bodywork the component is attached to, and it just goes on and on and on, and I'm sure all of you do not want to keep hearing all of these technical regulations. Mark says, Aston Martin will be fuming. FIA is just ruining creative engineering. Yes, they are, but of course they are trying to as well get racing a little bit more close between all of the teams and trying to close any loopholes that they do go and find. So that is what the FIA are trying to clamp down on at the moment. It's very interesting to see that these teams are finding all of these very, very creative loopholes in the regulations. And yeah, we'll see whether some teams take a bit of a dive in performance due to these regulation changes. Moving on to our final article for today, though. Massa's legal team warns of UK High Court action over FIA FOM delays. Felipe Massa's legal team anticipates filing a UK High Court action as early as next week if the FIA and Formula One management delay responding further to its 2008 Formula One title claims. As originally reported by Motorsport.com, Massa's lawyers wrote to the FIA president Mohammed Ben Sulayem and Formula One management CEO Stefano Domenicali earlier this month with a letter, before setting out the details of the Brazilian driver's legal pursuit to rectify him losing the 2008 Formula One World Championship. According to the document, Massa's legal team alleged that the Brazilian was the victim of a conspiracy over the Crashgate conspiracy at the 2008 Singapore Grand Prix. It urged that the FIA and Formula One management deliberately acted to avoid a scandal over what happened in Singapore, despite being told of the cheating affair early enough to have taken action. Massa's push for legal remedy was prompted by both an interview with Bernie Ecclestone claiming that the matter was brushed under the carpet and an archive chat with former Formula One race director Charlie Whiting, who revealed he was told about Nelson Piquet Jr.'s deliberate Singapore crash at that year's Brazilian Grand Prix season finale. It was suggested that Massa's losing the championship as a result of what happened in Singapore had cost him millions in income as well as morale and reputational damages. Motorsport.com has learned that both the FIA and Formula One management have responded to Massa's original letter, but both have indicated that in the wake of Formula One summer break period, with personnel being away, it was impossible to provide a formal response to the individual claims in the short term, so needed more time. The stance has not gone down well with Massa's team, who have ramped up the urgency to get answers from the FIA and Formula One management over the matter. Motorsport.com can reveal that Massa's legal team has now replied to both the FIA and Formula One management and told them that it does not consider a potential 3-month delay for the matter to be dealt with as responsible or reasonable. The letter copies of which have been seen by Motorsport.com argue that work on a response should have been done promptly upon receipt of the letter before claim, and summer absences should not have prevented that. It further states that it does not view potential delay in dealing with Massa's request for answers as acceptable. The letters go on to state that if a formal response is not made by Friday next week, the 8th of September, then it expects the matter to go to the UK High Court to force the answers required. An open-ended time frame for a response is not consistent with the pre-action protocol, added each letter. Please provide your response by 4 p.m. on the 8th of September 2023, failing which we anticipate being instructed to file claims in the UK High Court. Massa's legal team wants a fast response from both the FIA and FOM because it is poised to launch legal action in other jurisdictions, but feels that it is better to do so only once it has gotten the answers to its questions from the FIA and FOM. With the matter going legal, neither Formula One management nor the FIA wished to make a formal comment on the situation when approached by Motorsport.com. An FIA spokesperson said the FIA acknowledges the receipt of the correspondence from representatives of Mr. Felipe Massa, but the matter is under review and we will not be providing a comment at this stage. Things are certainly turning ugly with Felipe Massa and Formula One possibly going into legal action over the 2008 title scandal there. So we will have to wait and see what does happen with this scandal, and I'm sure that it could end up in court if the Formula One group does keep delaying their response to Felipe Massa's legal team. Nonetheless, that is it from me here today. Thank you very much for joining me. It has been quite a long one today, but there has been a lot of news to round up for you guys, and we are still looking forward to this race weekend in Monza. It is going to be a very exciting race weekend with hopefully a bunch of teams being able to compete for that title win in Monza. Nonetheless though, thank you very much for joining me. Like the video and subscribe to the channel. We have now hit 1,000 subscribers, so thank you very much for all of you who have achieved that. I have been Reese here. Ferrari have gone and unveiled special race suits for the Monza Grand Prix, their home Grand Prix at Italy, not too far away from their factory, and they have released some new race suits. They do look a little bit like McDonald's workers, but the Monza race will be the only Italian stop on the 2023 championship. To celebrate it, Ferrari has decided to prepare special race suits and dedicated merchandise, just as they did 12 months ago. On the occasion, a completely yellow colour scheme was chosen, paying tribute to the yellow Modena, which is an unanimously considered the Scuderia's secondary colour of reference. This time, however, the choice has fallen on a much more diverse mix that combines the three historic most used Ferrari colours, red, yellow and black. The uniform features stripes with the upper part coloured in red, the middle stripe in yellow and the lower portion, including the legs, entirely in black. So hopefully the Ferraris can have a bit of a better race weekend this weekend out in Monza. Hello and welcome to Forever Motorsports for some breaking news. Lewis Hamilton has extended his contract with Mercedes until the end of 2025. Lewis Hamilton has signed a 2-year contract extension with Mercedes to remain in Formula One until the end of the 2025 season. After months of speculation over his future, which included being linked with a move to Ferrari, the 7-time world champion Lewis Hamilton has committed to a deal that extends his racing relationship with Mercedes. Hamilton, who is now 38, is currently 4th in the 2023 drivers' standings, 183 points behind runaway champion leader Max Verstappen. Mercedes also officially confirmed that Hamilton's teammate George Russell will remain with the team until the end of 2025. We dream every day of being the best, and we have dedicated the past decade together to achieving that goal, Hamilton said, as Mercedes announced the extension ahead of this weekend's Italian Grand Prix. Being at the top does not happen overnight, or over a short period of time. It takes commitment, hard work and dedication, and it's been an honour to earn our way into the history books with this incredible team. After beginning his Formula One career with McLaren in 2007, Hamilton moved to Mercedes at the start of the 2013 season, and they have gone on to be the most successful driver-team combination in Formula One history. The Briton has won 6 of his 7 world titles with Mercedes, while the Silver Arrows claim 8 consecutive Constructors' Championships from 2014 to 2021. Hamilton has picked up 82 of his record 103 wins at Mercedes and also claimed 78 poles with the team. Hamilton's extension continues his quest to claim one of the few Formula One records he does not hold outright: World Championship wins. He is currently tied with Mick Schumacher on 7, having seen the 2021 title snatched from his grasp at the final moment before Mercedes' failure to successfully grasp Formula One's new technical regulations saw him out of championship contention in 2022 and again this year. The 2022 season was the first in Hamilton's Formula One career that failed to claim a race victory. the most recent coming in the penultimate race of 2021, the Saudi Arabian Grand Prix. We have never been hungrier to win, Hamilton added. We have learned from every success, but also every setback. We continue to chase our dreams, we continue to fight no matter the challenge, and we will win again. I'm grateful to the team who have supported me both on and off the track. Our story isn't finished. We are determined to achieve more together, and we won't stop until we do. So, very exciting to see that Mercedes and Lewis Hamilton have agreed to continue their relationship till 2025, and we certainly hope to see Lewis Hamilton and Mercedes being able to challenge yet again for Constructors and Drivers' Championships. But whether that is possible, we will have to wait and see. But nonetheless, very exciting to have Lewis Hamilton committed to staying on the Formula 1 grid till the end of 2025. Welcome to Monza, home of the Italian Grand Prix. Home heroes Ferrari will be wanting to put on a great showing this weekend for their home crowd, the Tifosi, who line the stands of Monza, hoping to catch a glimpse of another historic victory for the Maranello-based outfit. Monza is an 8.7km long circuit, made up of 11 corners. The track is the fastest on the Formula 1 calendar, made up of long straights that push the drivers and their car to the limit, with top speeds reaching around 350km an hour, before they slam on the brakes for the tight chicane that makes up turn 1 and 2. The circuit also has tricky technical sectors that really test the driver's limits, such as the Ascari chicane. Monza is one of the longest running Formula 1 races, having been on the calendar since 1921, with the most successful constructor being the home favourites Ferrari, who have won at their home circuit an impressive 20 times, as well as the most successful driver being Mick Schumacher with 5 wins at the Temple of Speed. Watch now as you take a lap around the circuit in the Ferrari World Endurance Championship car. Be sure to like the video and subscribe to the channel for more Formula 1 content, and we hope you'll join us for our coverage of the Italian Grand Prix.
Hello everybody and welcome to Forever Motorsports. We are now live, of course, for F1 qualifying here in Monza, and we've seen lots of times getting put in by all the drivers earlier and of course yesterday in practice 1, 2 and 3, and Sainz topped the charts in both practice 2 and practice 3 and has been looking quickest going into qualifying, though lots of cars still have lots of pace to find as well. The Mercedes were finally finding some good pace this morning, Ferraris are looking competitive, Red Bulls of course will always be competitive, Alonso could do something, and the McLarens also found quite a bit of pace. So Lots up in the air, and we've got to go through this different format, of course. We're doing it again, second time of the season. Hard, medium, and softs in Q1, Q2, and Q3. So, what are we looking forward to here today, Reese?
Well, yes, I think it's going to be an interesting session. The Ferraris, as you've said already, are looking quite handy around this track. Of course, they're going to be wanting to impress their home fans, the Tifosi, around here in Monza. And right now, they look relatively set to be able to do exactly that. Lots of you guys giving your predictions in the comment section. Pureblood saying Fernando P1, Carlos Sainz P2, and Max P3. Relatively bold statement there from Pureblood, one of our regulars here on this channel. Yeah, lots of people getting quite excited for this session to get underway. Please do be sure to let us know where you're watching from. Be sure to like the video as well. It helps us to get recommended a little bit more in the search bar. And yeah, subscribe to the channel. If you're not subscribed already, there's a lot of content being put up on this channel this race weekend and in the future, of course, as well. This is now my full-time job, which is quite exciting. I get to do this for a full-time job. And yeah, let's get on board with this session now. We have just 7 minutes left to get going until we get the green light for qualifying one. And as Mark said, it is going to be quite interesting because for the first session, we're going to be running those hard tires, which do seem to be pretty much some of the fastest times we've seen this race weekend have been set on hards, because I think, and Mark also agrees with me, that Pirelli had brought maybe a step or two compounds too soft this race weekend. They could have gone maybe the C2, 3, and 4, but this race weekend we're doing a C1, 2, and 3.
Indeed. So we're just looking at images of the town around Monza, of course, the city that is there close to the racetrack. Beautiful surrounds, of course, in Italy. Here, just 5 minutes and 55 seconds away. Marion, one of our usuals, also here. Greetings from the Netherlands. Good to have you in the comments. And yeah, I mean, we gave our predictions earlier, very, very interesting, and we tried to be bold with our predictions.
I honestly can't even remember who I put up there.
But that's what I was going to say. Is go and let us know in the poll as well. Who do you think is going to top qualifying? We're going to go for Q1 first. We're going to do a poll each qualifying session so that we can try and keep the interest going, because otherwise just looking for the end result will be the same, and maybe we'll have a driver drop out as well. So be sure to go and participate in the poll. Who's going to go quickest in Q1? And then we'll obviously bring up the poll for Q2. But otherwise, let us know in the comments, who do you think is going to be on poll for tomorrow?
Yes, also let us know who you think could possibly crash out or have an incident in the first part of qualifying. It's not an easy track to get around, especially with these drivers running such low downforce setups. It makes the tricky technical sectors such as turn 1 and 2 are of course very, very tricky. And then there's also the likes of the Degner chicanes, where people struggle quite a lot. We've seen some drivers go off there in the run-up to the Degners, as well as in the Ascari chicanes. So it's not just a high-speed circuit, it's also got some really technical sectors in the middle part.
Indeed, exactly that. We're now running the Formula 1 titles, which we're very, very close to qualifying here. We're just about 4 minutes away from the qualifying session getting going, and it's going to be a very much an interesting one. So what we did do was predict who was going to be the top 3 positions in terms of for tomorrow's race. But who do we reckon we're going to lose in the first qualifying session? Who are the 5 drivers that we reckon we could lose, Reese? Who are you backing is to be those 5?
Well, I'm quite worried about those Alpines having finished at the end of FP3, 20th and 18th. I think they're not going to have the greatest day out there, as well as are both of the Alfa Romeos. They don't look like they're looking too handy out on track. But then again, I think we could be surprised. Maybe we could see one of the Alpha Tauris down there as well, but I think maybe that's my top 5 for now.
So you're going 2 Alpines, 2 Alfa Romeos, and an Alfa Tauri or some sort.
Tauri, possibly.
I'm going to do the same thing. I'm saying both Alpines are going to struggle, although I do think that we're probably going to see other things. But meanwhile, track distance is 5.7 kilometers, full throttle spent at 75%.
Top speed around this circuit is 356.4 kilometers an hour with 11 turns, and 12.48 meters is the elevation around the circuit. Not that much, certainly not as much as it used to be when it used to have those banked corners. Going over our tyre compounds for this weekend, Mark.
Yes, we've got the C5, the C4, and the C3. Soft tyre, of course, being the C5, C4 being the medium, C3 being the hardest tyre compound
so I got
available.
It wrong earlier, saying yes. C1, 2, and 3.
All good. C5, C4, and C3 compounds. The clouds are in their numbers here. It's partly cloudy, 28 degrees, so it's quite hot already. Track temperature is 39 degrees and humidity only 43%, so rain should not be a factor.
Much hotter than FP3, yes, well, this afternoon. So, yeah, it could be a very, very hot session, and I don't think we're going to see lap times as fast as we saw maybe in FP3 because of the heat.
Yeah, potentially. And also, of course, we haven't really seen how quick all those teams are on the hard tyres and the medium tyres. They did do runs earlier. We tried to track exactly who was quickest on those hards and mediums. Didn't quite, unfortunately, get to see exactly all those stats. Although Albon was looking very, very quick on the medium tyre earlier. So perhaps he could do something amazing today again.
Well, I certainly will not discount Alex Albon. He's been so great in qualifying sessions for the past few months, and I've been extremely impressed by him. Of course, all of the Tifosi are going to be wanting to see none other than one colour at the top of the podium, though, and that is Ferrari. All of them absolutely adorned in red. The stands are pretty much just red in front of all the pit boxes. They absolutely love everything to do with Formula One. And on top of the pit boxes as well, it is so chock-a-block full here at Monza.
Yeah, so there's quite a lot of pressure on the Ferrari team. Their only home Grand Prix of the season, of course, because Imola was cancelled.
Having a sleep in the car.
Indeed he is. He's having a good sleep in the car there. And just getting ready, I suppose, mentally ready for this qualifying session here. I think he's just been awoken quite abruptly there as they take off all the things around him. Max Verstappen looking focused, ready and focused for this qualifying session. It's not going to be an easy one, of course. We're doing the hard to medium to soft tyre session again, so it could be all up in the air in terms of those whose tyres don't quite work on the harder compounds versus on the softer compounds. But again, let us know in the comments, what do you think is going to happen in the first qualifying session, and be sure to go participate in the poll. Hit that like button right now. Let's ramp up those viewers to at least 200. Let's get going, guys, and be sure to subscribe to the channel. We are literally almost right there. Look at Fernando Alonso's car, and I'm expecting big things from him in this qualifying session. Let's go.
Yes, some people just asking our quali predictions. We did give it at the end of FP3. But Mark, just go over your prediction there. I'll try and remember what mine was, but I might give a new one.
I'm trying to remember now. I said Sainz is somehow going to get podium. Max Verstappen in second, and Alonso third was my prediction.
I do remember mine now, and I do remember saying Max Verstappen P1, Carlos Sainz P2, Lando Norris P3. I went a little bit bolder there with the P3 prediction. I think that those McLarens may have a little bit more pace than we've maybe predicted so far. They might shock us in the session. I think the Ferraris of Charles Leclerc is going to want to have a good session out there. He hasn't been outperformed or outqualified at the circuit by a teammate as of yet. And we can see we've got the visor cam or the driver cam in his helmet this race weekend, so it will be good to see some views behind this.
And he gave us a little look there, giving us a little smile in the camera as well, just before he gets out. As of course, qualifying is starting in just literally right now. It says it's currently live on our stream. We are literally about to get going with the first qualifying session, and we can see all those Ferrari banners and flags being waved by the crowds. They are in their numbers. It's going to be a fantastic qualifying session, and I think the first cars can now make their way out as we have begun Q1. There are 17 minutes and 45 seconds left. Of course, it's an 18-minute session. They're holding the cars in. Nobody's rushing to get out there yet. I think it's because it's a bit hot out there at the moment.
Great shot of the Ferrari from inside the pit garage, from behind, looking out onto the stands. You can see all of the Tifosi holding up their famous banner that is in the shape of a red heart for the Scuderia outfit. Just looking here at Oscar Piastri, also sitting in his race seat at the moment. The clock is ticking down. No one has made the pounds yet, though.
Indeed. So, Pine Desert Sports saying Sargeant going to go to Q3. Well, that would be a hell of a thing if he does manage to do it. So
that would certainly be a great day for Logan Sargeant off the back of the Netherlands Grand Prix, where it wasn't his fault, and I have to keep saying this because people are giving a lot of stick to Logan Sargeant as Max Verstappen makes his way out of the pits. Yeah, I think it wasn't Sargent's fault, and we need to give him a little bit more time maybe to prove himself.
Interesting there. The McLarens were waiting for somebody to go out, and they were going to send them in between. So they've sent out Lando Norris and Oscar Piastri right in the middle there, of course, and the Red Bulls are also going right out. So it's going to be very interesting Q1 here. We did give our predictions as to who's going to get eliminated. Let us know who you think is going to get eliminated. So yeah.
Super with his prediction here saying Lewis on pole. Well, they were looking a little bit feisty near the end, but I don't know if they're fast enough to put up with those Ferraris. The Ferraris are looking super quick here this race weekend. I'm actually worried for the Red Bulls.
Yeah, it is a little bit worrying. So the Red Bulls, I think, as we've always seen, qualifying has been very exciting the entire season. Max Verstappen topping quite a few of those, but only just. It's never been light work as it might have been in the races. So Verstappen's currently going out on his outlap, as is most of the grid. A few cars still waiting. The Ferrari's waiting. They're having an interesting strategy here. They're waiting quite a while, so I think they're going to wait for a break after those who've gone out. So interesting tactics from the Ferraris. We'll see what times start to get put in from all the drivers as they start going out.
Yes, possibly just waiting for a bit of a break in action out on the track, and then they'll put their cars out there in some clean air. I think they'll probably do what the Red Bulls have done. Well, I say the Red Bulls have done, but they've been now split by a McLaren of Lando Norris. I think the Red Bulls were trying to give each other the toe, but now Lando Norris is going to give Perez a toe instead of Max Verstappen. Verstappen's going to help Norris, though, with him being right behind Verstappen.
Speaking of Perez, do we think that he has a decent qualifying session? He's not had a good one for ages now, so is it going to be more of the same from Perez, where he's going to be starting 9th, 10th, 11th?
Perez really needs to prove himself now. It's begun to eat away at him, I'm sure, as Max Verstappen starts his first ramp up to his quali lap now. He starts his quali lap, he crosses the start finish straight. DRS is now wide open, and he will get on there for his first quali attempt on the hard tyres. Do not forget that this race weekend we are trialing a different qualifying format
For the second time this
season. Yes, where you have to run a set of hards for Q1, mediums for Q2, and softs for Q3. It's going to provide some really interesting results, though, with last time out we had that. I think Lewis Hamilton dropped out in the first qualifying session. Verstappen, though, with the fastest first sector overall.
Yes, well, he is one of the first ones to go round, so that's expected, as it has already been taken away from him. So, looks like his teammate Sergio Perez has already started a little bit better than Max Verstappen. Of course,
well,
though,
he has a toe.
Yes, they do just need to. He doesn't have a toe from his teammate, so not that much of a toe, as we do see Lando Norris is in the middle of them, so Perez is having to try and follow Norris. And we'll see the times that get put in right at the end of this lap here, and we'll start to bring those to you. Just 14 minutes left of the session, of course, as we do see some drivers making their way through the middle sectors.
Magnussen, though, starts with the slew of fastest laps. He sets at 122.8. Just watching with Verstappen, though, where will he put his car? His middle sector's already been stolen away by George Russell, though. So maybe there is a bit of a chat to be said about those Mercedes here today. Waiting for Verstappen, though, to come across the finish line. He does finish now with a 122.047, but Lando Norris coming right behind him only puts himself in second with a 122.4.
Russell's coming along very quickly, Reese.
Verstappen in second. Russell, though, as you say, Mark, purple middle sector, what can he do? He only goes second. 0.1 seconds.
Now, we spoke about track limits the entire weekend. I said it's going to be a big problem when it comes to qualifying, and I think we're about to start seeing some laps get taken away. You see, Verstappen's taken away. Verstappen has been done in for track limits. So Verstappen originally had himself on pole, but now has to go and do that again due to track limits. We did say it's going to be a problem.
Albon puts himself on provisional pole for this Q1 session, with the 122.1 Verstappen being told now on the radio that his time has been deleted for track limits at turn 7.
Which has been the one that we've been talking about all weekend.
Second Degner, yep, that is the one we've been speaking about all weekend. Zhou Guanyu puts himself up now into 5th place with the 122.3. Just watching now the Ferraris ramping up to start their first hot laps. This is Charles Leclerc.
It's going to be very interesting to watch here now, the two Ferraris. Of course, they came out much later than the rest of the grid to start this qualifying session, so I think they're going to try and make use of some little bit more rubber on the track, and hopefully a little bit less traffic as well, as everybody should be pretty much doing their cool down and slash hot laps as well. So they should have some clean air to go through, and otherwise a few people to follow. Leclerc going with Sainz just behind him, about 5 seconds lagging behind him there. Let's see how these Ferraris do.
Yes, just watching with Charles Leclerc 0.1 down on Albon's first sector time. Not necessarily too promising right now with him being down 2/10 on what Verstappen had done. Carlos Sainz 0.3 down on Albon's time there. So interesting to see that Alex Albon is so fast in the Williams.
I think the other concerning thing that I've just seen there, Stroll's time compared to Albon. He's already 2 seconds down in the first sector. So I don't know if he's already just going to give up on that lap and try to go around again. But at this point, he needs a banker, and it's not been a very good start for him. Also intrigued to see where Alonso finishes up. He's also just started his hot lap.
Sainz coming up to the middle sector now. He puts in the fastest middle sector, but still down on Alex Albon's time. Fernando Alonso also on the hot lap now. What can he do compared to his teammates? As you said, his teammate was 200ths down in the first sector.
2 seconds down.
2 seconds down, gosh. As Alonso is 0.3 down on Albon's time at the moment. Carlos Sainz, though, still up in the middle sector. Leclerc approaching now the finish line. Where will he put his car? Only up in 7th. That's not good enough so far for that Ferrari. We would expect them to be much higher. But where does Sainz put himself? Only 4th.
Well, he was getting a little bit of a tow right at the end there. Alonso now crossing the line. He puts himself right up into 7th position. His teammate Stroll, very slow, starting, I think, another lap here, or maybe just going to have to come back into the pits. A very, very slow lap for him. He's obviously cooled it down. Hulkenberg now finishing up his lap. Let's see where he finishes. This does look to be quite a decent lap for him. Let's see. Oh, maybe not.
Yeah, no,
it's going to drop down quite low there. 0.8 seconds behind. Piastri also on a hot lap here. He's got personal bests in both 2 sectors here. Coming towards it. Norris is also coming just behind him here. Piastri crosses the line. He will move himself up into, my word, nowhere.
Yeah,
14th. Yeah, it's not great there.
Say. Yeah, I think some drivers really struggling on these hard tyres. Verstappen is going to have to go out and do another lap. He is on an out lap at the moment. Yeah, he's not going to be very happy at the fact that he was caught out on that first lap there. He is just prepping himself now. He's going through, where is he? Middle sector at the moment, or final sector rather. He's approaching the parabolic and coming through Ascari.
I would also like to point out Alonso's track time, not that it was brilliant, has also been deleted for track limits. So track limits is going to be a big thing again today in qualifying. We're going to see this
Norris
happen.
Gets caught out
Oh my word!
That was very close between himself and
Ocon.
No, that's Ocon. Yes, I agree. That is very, very dangerous there. Yeah, that is very dangerous. I think we could see Ocon getting a penalty for that, as now Max Verstappen comes across Parabolica to start his next hot lap.
Indeed, looking at the comments, quite a few of you come into the comments here. Be sure to ask us some questions. Got almost 350 of you watching again. Hit that subscribe button and hit that like button on the video as well. Let us know where you're watching from. And otherwise, your thoughts so far. Race control just confirming my statement there. Car 14 Alonso's time has been deleted due to track limits. Verstappen now starting his hot lap, please.
What can he do as he approaches turn 1 and turn 2? Looking neat and tidy through there. No understeer or oversteer. Very, very neatly out. What can he do though through this first sector? We'll have to wait and see what he's able to put in, because of course he's already starting on the back foot, not having a banker lap here at all. He needs to get in a good lap. Up in the first sector though, 0.039 up on Alex Albon's fastest first sector time. Very neat and tidy through the middle sector though, almost getting onto the gravel there through turn 5, now through turn 6, the first Egner.
Oh, they could almost be done in for track limits again there.
Very nearly be done in for track
limits. Oh, and he's going to be done in there. I think he's crossed the line again, Max Verstappen. I think that's going to be another time that he's going to have it deleted. He's going to continue on here, but I think he might well have his lap deleted once more.
Perez goes fastest now overall with a 121.911. Verstappen is up in the middle sector, 0.2 up on Perez's time now. Race control have said Lance Stroll's time has been deleted for track limits at turn 2. Verstappen still running on his lap at the moment. He may have to have it deleted, but we'll wait and see what race control says. Coming through the Parabolica now, looking very neat and tidy, very well within track limits in that corner. He crossed the line and puts himself quite comfortably in first, 0.3 ahead of Perez's time.
But again, we're going to have to wait to see whether or not his track time will stand, because it did look like he just went a little bit over for track limits, so we'll see what happens there. Quite a few drivers being done in for track limits already. Liam Lawson currently at the bottom of the grid. Alonso now coming across the line. Where does he put himself? Not that great a lap from him. Oh, I say that. In third. Sorry.
What do you mean not that great, Mark? That's brilliant from Fernando Alonso.
I was moving the time a little bit too quickly there. Alonso right up into third position, right behind those 2 Red Bulls. Max Verstappen.
Oh, big moment for Esteban Ocon into the exit of Ascari. He almost loses the car there and puts it into the wall. He very luckily caught it though as he started hitting the gravel. Able to keep all 4 tyres on the road, and he's finishing this lap nonetheless. Maybe he might start another lap here. Tsunoda, currently fastest in the first sector. He is about to finish his lap as well. What can Tsunoda do? Ocon, even though he had a very bad time, he still finishes his lap.
I don't understand why he wouldn't have just
into fifth though. Sorry, Mark.
Yeah, no, I just don't understand why Ocon wouldn't have come into the pits there. He's not got that much time left. 7 minutes left.
Liam Lawson moves himself up into 7th place. Brilliant from the rookie. Not too far off of Yuki Tsunoda at the moment. George Russell looking like he's in some danger at the moment. He might need to get out there and put in another lap. Rewatching this moment though from Esteban Ocon, he just had a massive snap of oversteer coming through turn 10, and just for
added insult.
And then added insult, as Mark says, his lap time has been deleted for track limits for his excursion into the gravel.
Indeed, exactly that. Whole lot of people coming in the comments here. We will read them as and when we can. Just seeing Hamilton will struggle to make Q3. Indeed, while Hamilton is currently sitting in 13th on our timing boards. Leclerc also only just above him. Although I think Leclerc is currently setting a fast lap, so he might probably get ahead of that, and just waiting to see what Leclerc's time is. Hamilton now starting a new fast lap for himself, and Leclerc does move into third position, a 121.996. Great lap from the Ferrari driver.
Very, very good lap from Charles Leclerc. finally showing what the Ferrari can do on these hard tyres. Just waiting for Carlos Sainz to get out there again. He is out on track. I think he's still on a slow lap right now. Just looking at his tech. No, he's putting in a hot lap. Esteban Ocon on the radio saying, check the right-hand side of the floor, please. I did think I saw some carbon fiber flicking up when he did go over the gravel. Marko reacting there for Lewis Hamilton going, I think, a little bit too wide into turn 7.
Yeah, and there's also a little bit of almost a big correction there from Lewis Hamilton to keep it on the track.
Another correction into turn 8 and 9. Really struggling as he comes through Ascari. Yeah, his car is not looking comfortable in the technical sectors.
No, but he's still relatively decent in terms of his time. So let's see where he finishes more or less. Although, as I said, I think he's lost a bit of time from his correction. Sainz moves into third position at 121.965. So only just behind Sergio Perez. So the two Ferraris and the two Red Bulls quite easily quickest.
Only up into 10th though. Still 2 places off of his teammate. And really not finding the pace here on these hard tyres right now.
No, and there's only 5 minutes left to go, so it could be very concerning as we do see Ocon now in the pits. They're not really rushing, are they? Because they don't have much time. Ocon very firmly down there, 19th. Stroll also yet to put a proper lap in, of course. He had quite a slow lap. I think he had to come back into the pits and get some things sorted out.
His floor looks alright, at least from the top. Esteban Ocon's that I'm talking about. You can see how the tyres have really been eaten away a little bit by the gravel, but the floor looks alright, at least from the top. Underneath, that's a different story, whether it's taken some damage.
Exactly. The current drivers being eliminated from the session with just 4 minutes and 25 seconds left. Stroll, Ocon, Hülkenberg, Piastri and Gasly. So Piastri really needs to get out there and get himself into the quicker laps, because we do know the McLarens are quicker on those soft and medium tyres, but they need to get out on those hards as well.
Yes, Piastri is on an out lap at the moment as Hülkenberg crosses the line to start his next flying lap. He's currently down in P18. He'll want to move a little bit higher. They were doing quite well in FP3, but not being able to have that same pace in this session on the hard tyres.
No, exactly that. So we're seeing if the Haas's can try and rectify and get that pace that they found in practice 3. Hülkenberg coming towards that first sector time. Let's see where he gets compared to his teammate, who's currently the one he's got to beat. Still down in his teammate's time and down in 15th. And Magnussen looking a little bit slow as well. So, yeah, not looking great for them. Stroll now crosses that point. He's up on Magnussen's time. So Stroll could be looking to get himself out of that elimination zone with just 3.5 minutes left.
Hülkenberg will be pushing as much as he can at the moment because, I mean, he's had some great qualifying sessions so far this season. It would be quite a shame to see him eliminated here in Q1. But, of course, it is tricky with these different tyres. Sergio Perez has moved himself up to P2 again. I think he fell down there a little bit earlier, but has made himself back up there again. I'm still very impressed with Alex Albon's time, sticking quite resolute there, up in 6th.
Indeed, I think Albon might well be safe, and a few drivers coming back, making their way back out of the pits to put in some last few laps here. Hülkenberg now about to cross the line. Where does this put him as he crosses the line now? And he gets himself up into 12th position. Magnussen, his teammate, now following, gets only into 15th. Lance Stroll following quite quickly. He should get out of the elimination zone as well. It's going to be quite a decent time for Stroll, perhaps not quite. He's not out of the relegation zone. No, it's shocking final sector. Piastri now coming across the line. He's sitting down in 19th. Where does he get?
Come on, Piastri.
There goes Piastri, and right up into 11th. Yes. So it's not necessarily quite quick enough. His teammate Norris is also following close behind. Let's see where he gets compared. Race control has noted that Gasly's lap has been deleted for track limits. Norris now crosses the line, puts himself up into 4th. Great. Look at this traffic. My word, look at this traffic.
It's so busy out on track right now. I think everyone just out there in case they need to make sure that they're going to be safe, as well as some people doing some warm-up laps.
That's exactly that. So the two Alpines now making their way out with just 2 minutes to go. The 2-minute marker has been set. Just 2 minutes to go.
There is going to be a massive traffic jam, as we're already seeing on the track map here. Everyone is pretty much following each other. They're going to all back themselves up into the Parabolica, that final rounded corner on the right-hand side of that map. Hülkenberg is currently leading that train at the moment with Russell, Magnussen, Sainz,
the rest of the grid.
I'm trying to pretty much read who's behind him. But yeah, yes, very, very busy out there right now.
Interestingly enough, Leclerc and Ocon will be the ones ending off the session there, right at the back of the traffic
jam. I hope they do not get caught out, because there's 1 minute and 25 seconds left of the session.
Yeah, so currently big name drivers at risk. Stroll, Piastri currently in the relegation zone. Hamilton could be safe. But
Piastri's time has been deleted.
Yes, that's why he's currently there. So Piastri's time has been deleted. I think that's twice now. So he's got to be very, very careful. Yeah, Piastri's got to do a very good lap here to get himself into Q2. Come on, Piastri, you can do it, boy. Just looking at the grid as well. Who's not really that safe? Hamilton, Russell, maybe not that safe in terms of the big names. Logan Sargeant's up in 12th. His teammate, though, is in 7th. So let's see. As we do see now, those first few cars starting their lap time.
Bottas is starting to push as now we get under that minute marker before the end of the session. I think pretty much everyone should get through safely, but it isn't necessarily a given just yet. But Bottas, one of the first drivers to start pushing with, I think that might be Leclerc behind him.
No, Leclerc's much further back,
behind him.
So the both Red Bulls are in the pits, so they're not going to make their way out. They back themselves to get into the next session. They're not worrying at all.
Leclerc puts himself up into second, though, as they get into the pits with a 121.7, 0.2 behind Max Verstappen's fastest time at the moment on those hards. Valtteri Bottas up by 300 on Magnussen's time at the moment. That should put him quite comfortably in that, well, out of that relegation zone. Piastri's also up in the first sector right now on Magnussen's time.
Yeah, we're worrying more about Piastri and Stroll because, of course, Stroll in that car should be doing decently enough. We see Alonso up in 6th, Stroll all the way down in 17th. Piastri now trying to get himself out of that relegation zone as well.
He just needs to keep really, really safe within track limits there. Valtteri Bottas once again with, well up on that delta time to Magnussen, so he's definitely going to be able to get out of that bottom zone. But will the others be able to improve enough for him to be able to get out there, or will he be dropped back into that relegation zone when everyone else improves as well on their lap times?
Yeah, so AlphaTauri doing
down
quite
in the middle sector, Mark.
Oh dear, yeah. AlphaTauri doing quite well, sitting in 8th and 10th respectively, so they're going to make themselves hopefully into the next session as Bottas goes 12th. And Zhou crosses the line now just behind him. He moves into... Oh no, he's not out quite just yet. Albon goes second quickest. Piastri, does he get himself out? He does. Great lap time from Piastri.
That means be a safe lap though.
Stroll is out. Stroll is out.
Sargeant goes up to 5th. Brilliant, Logan Sargeant. Lewis Hamilton coming across the line soon. Lawson moves up to 10th. He's safe from this session. Hamilton moves himself up to 7th. That's much better from Lewis Hamilton. Tsunoda is going to be one of the next drivers across the line.
Can the Alpines get out?
4th. Brilliant.
Can the Alpines get out? That's the question. No, Ocon cannot, and Gasly also cannot. So we have our 5 confirmed exiteers from the Q1 session. Stroll, Magnussen, Alpine of Ocon, Alpine of Gasly, and Guan Yu Zhou, whose time was also deleted anyway. So Zhou Guan Yu of the Alfa Romeo, the only one out in terms of the Alfa Romeo team. Bottas just survives. Hulkenberg just survives. Also Russell, right down in 13th.
A fastest first and second sector from the Williams team. The third sector only going to Max Verstappen. That is so exciting to see that the Williams have that much pace right now.
And we did say the fact that the Williams are going to be looking very, very quick this weekend in terms of going into qualifying. So that ends our poll then for who will go quickest in Q1. Verstappen was the correct answer, which got 48% of the votes. Sainz was only down in 7th, who got 25%. Hamilton got 16%. He was down in 8th. So we're going to start up the next poll now. Who will go quickest in Q2?
Yes, and I mean, a lot of you are quite upset at Lance Stroll, who's currently where? P20. What is going on with that second Aston Martin seat? Just trying to look where his teammate put himself. Where is he? Alonso's in P10. I mean, it's not great, but it's much better than what Lance Stroll is doing at the moment. 490 of you watching alongside with us at the moment. Thank you very much for joining our stream. Please do be sure to hit that like button. It does help us quite a lot. Also, be sure to subscribe to the channel if you want to follow me and Mark for more content throughout the race week and throughout weeks leading up to race weekends.
Yeah, and also notably, we want to just have a look at Liam Lawson. Look at that. Lawson up in 12th position. His teammate Tsunoda up in 4th. So the AlphaTauri is doing very, very well here in that first qualifying session. Lance Stroll, I said what's going to happen with Lance Stroll this weekend because the first session, Drugovich, of course, he looks very upset, does Lance Stroll, just by the way. Not looking very happy with life. But yeah, Drugovich, of course, took his place in the first session. Second session yesterday, his car shut off. So he only had this morning to practice and clearly wasn't enough. Incident involving Leclerc and Sainz noted failing to follow race director instructions for the maximum lap time.
They've gone too slow on an outlap. You have a set amount of time that you have to stick within on an outlap, and they've gone longer than that. It's for safety regulations because we don't want cars to be hampering other cars.
I don't think we'll see anything happen as a result of that. They might get fined, yeah. And the FIA might have a very nice dinner tonight. That's maybe what will happen.
Because they've also gotten a €500 fine from Max Verstappen yesterday for going 4 kilometers an hour over the pit lane speed limit.
Yeah.
So they're going to buy a nice bottle of wine and some good steaks here in Italy this evening.
Indeed, they're supposed to be very happy with the fact that Leclerc and Sainz are through to the next round, same as the AlphaTauris, of course, and one Alfa Romeo. So the Alphas and the Ferraris doing all right. Just lost one of them, Guan Yu Zhou, unfortunately, out there in 16th. So who's the next 5 that we're going to drop out in this next session, Reese?
Well, I think because we didn't get Valtteri Bottas out in that first session, I think Valtteri Bottas is going to be out. Nico Hülkenberg will be out. Lawson and maybe Piastri. He's not having the greatest time.
I'm going to say Sargeant. As much as Sargeant did very well, and I think these Williams are very quick, I think he might just get a little bit caught out. But I'm hoping not. Maybe he gets into Q3. Somebody did say so in the stream earlier in the comments, saying yes, Logan Sargeant will get into Q3. Stewards have noted incident involving car 16 and Sainz will be investigated after the session, failing to follow race directive instructions for the maximum lap time. So yes, that'll probably result in a fine for them. And let's go to the comments quickly. And Snope saying Stroll out in 2024. Yeah, indeed. Shrish saying a whole lot of things. Well, I'm a gamble and put Leclerc, although we all know who will take it, lol. Q2 Leclerc will be winning it.
So incidents involving Charlotte and
Sainz
will be investigated after the session, as Mark said.
Yes.
Interesting to see. Ferrari fans all waiting for the second session to get underway. That should be getting underway very, very shortly. I think in 2 minutes' time, as all of the Ferrari fans line the stands here. I mean, I don't see pretty much any other shirts. I see
Aston Martin shirts.
I see an Aston Martin shirt.
I see quite a few Aston Martin shirts. I see about 6 or 7. But yes,
there's a lot of red though in those stands.
There's a lot of red. And just going back to the comments here, the lively library saying the next one's out will be Hülkenberg, Lawson, Bottas, Sargeant, and Russell. Interesting there. Looking at the replay here of Zhou Guan Yu, I'm assuming this is where he went off for track limits, or maybe just getting overtaken by a Ferrari as he's starting his hot lap. Zhou getting...
Yeah, he gets overtaken by Carlos Sainz as he's about to start his hot lap. There is a driver's agreement that they have. They call it the gentleman's agreement. And clearly Carlos Sainz not necessarily caring about that today because he wants to get out and underway for his lap. Just reading here a comment from the Cheese and Chips. Stroll is slower than a man almost twice his age.
It's true. But that man who's almost twice his age, to be fair, is a legend of the sport. Some people have made arguments that he's the greatest F1 driver of all time. Not quite on that same bandwagon, but I certainly say he is a very, very good driver. And certainly one for the history books is Alonso. And very, very keen to see what he can do in the rest of the season as well as the session. And probably next year, of course. He'll still be here next year. And Alonso is just... I cannot believe how well he performs at age 41.
42.
42. Was he 42?
I think so.
Anyway, in his 40s.
He's doing absolutely phenomenally in Formula 1 at the moment. So glad that he has rejoined the sport. We're super close to 500 of you watching alongside with us. Please do be sure to share the link to all of your friends who also, I mean, as who said here, I saw someone saying that they're tired. It was SB says here because I'm tired of Sky Sports Formula 1 British bias. So yes, if you're also tired of Sky Sports British bias, please do be sure to join us for all of our race streams. We do love interacting with you with all of you guys and girls, of course, in the comments section. And others, yes. As we do now have over 500 of you guys. And
yes, thank you so much for watching. Whilst you guys are here, be sure to like the video, subscribe to the channel, and check out all of our other content as well. And we will be having a membership program coming up soon where you guys can opt to join as a member and you can game with us as well. We'll be having a few gaming servers open there. Obviously, we'll have Formula 1 streams, and we do put that as part of the build-up packages, so you can see your name there up in lights in the YouTube page. Maybe you guys beat us as well, and otherwise...
Maybe I'll have some competition.
Oh, please. I'm currently leading, am I not? But yes,
don't think my 2 race wins.
The Q2 is currently underway. We have just started 15 minutes, and of course the same thing has happened in Q2 that we saw in Q1. Nobody's making their way out immediately. 14 minutes left already. A minute has passed. Not a single car has made their way out onto track.
Lando Norris is looking pretty sleepy in his car at the moment. I don't know if he's tired or just bored waiting for the next session to get underway. It is now ticking down. But no one has decided to get out on track just yet. Yes, thank you very much to Shrees Vijay Kumar saying everyone liked the stream. It really does help us. If you do like the stream, it helps us get recommended by the YouTube algorithm. As Mark is going to run off quickly, he'll be back in 2 seconds. But yes, still waiting for cars to get out onto track. Currently, no one is out on track 560 of you, though, joining alongside with us. Thank you very much for joining. Please do be sure to like the video and subscribe to the channel if you want to follow for more Formula 1 content. I do upload and do a live stream every single day of the week, during the week. And yeah, it's always great to have all of you alongside with me asking questions during that live stream. As people are finally out on track, we have Max Verstappen. We have... who else is that? I think that's Sergio Perez as well out on track. We have the McLaren of Lando Norris out on track, Yuki Tsunoda, Alex Albon, Logan Sargeant, and the Ferraris are also making their way out on track right now. It's going to be an interesting second session. Everyone is, of course, out on those medium tyres as we are trialing that new Formula 1 qualifying format for the second time here in Monza, where you have to use a set of hards in Q1, mediums in Q2, and a set of softs in Q3. Big train of people currently leaving the pits. Majority of the drivers have left, except for Hamilton, Russell, and Bottas. They are all still in the pits at the moment. I'll say that though, but Bottas has also now left the pits. Watching the Ferrari of Charles Leclerc now making his way around the track. Just waiting to see what these Ferraris can really do out here today. I'd love to see them being able to put it at the top of the timing boards at the end of Q3. It's going to be difficult though. I think those Red Bulls still have quite a lot of pace in them, but certainly if anyone's going to be able to do it here today, it is going to be those Ferraris. We also have those Williams looking very, very competitive here. Max Verstappen, though, starting his first hot lap now. Sergio Perez following behind with Lando Norris also closely in tow. Yuki Tsunoda then following those three with Alex Albon, Piastri, Alonso, Lawson, Sargeant, Hülkenberg, and then Leclerc being the next up to start their hot laps. Let's follow along with their sector times, though, as they go on their hot laps now, as Mark joins us yet again.
I'm not there yet.
I know, you're close though. But Verstappen going into turn 1 and 2, looking very neat and tidy on these mediums, much faster than on those hard tyres. It's going to be much faster times though. We would expect them to be setting in this session on a set of mediums as opposed to the hards that they had in the session previously. Verstappen, of course, starts his first lap fastest, but Albon has already stolen that first fastest sector away from him. Sergio Perez currently steals that first sector away from Albon then. Let's carry on watching though with their sector times right now. It's getting very, very competitive out there.
Yes, indeed. So, Verstappen currently leading what would be the first lap. Bottas set obviously a purple sector in sector 3, but I think that's just because he's on his out lap and nobody else has. So 10.5 minutes left here. Verstappen complete sector 2 with a purple sector as well. Perez going around very quickly, and Norris also hot on his heels. They're all of them very, very close together.
Yes, they are really close together, all getting the slipstream off each other. Max Verstappen, though, prefers to run in clear air. It may hamper him a little bit in terms of his top speeds, but it does certainly help when you go around the corners, especially like Parabolica. He keeps it well within the track limits there. He will not be wanting to have another lap time deleted. He crosses the line, keeps himself in first where he is currently. And what is his time of 121.035? Sergio Perez crossed the line in second, Norris in third. Where does Alex Albon put himself though? Albon
is going around very quickly.
Albon's camera is a little bit dirty, but he puts himself up into second. Brilliant for the Williams being able to compete with all of these other cars. Carlos Sainz though comes into the Parabolica with Charles Leclerc as well, hot on his heels.
Alonso's gone quicker than the McLaren, so great drive there from Fernando Alonso. But where do the two Ferraris go? They're going around very, very quickly so far. These medium tyres looking very good as Leclerc now crosses the line and puts himself in second, only just behind Verstappen. But his teammate Carlos Sainz seems to be going around a little bit quicker. Will he go into first? Yes, he does.
He does. Very comfortably ahead of Max Verstappen. 0.0, I think it's about 0.03 or 0.04 ahead of him. It's very close.
Sainz is ahead of Verstappen by 0.0. Yeah.
0.044. That is the time between Verstappen and Carlos Sainz at the moment. It is going to be, it's over there on that.
Yes, it is.
I can't maths, so I prefer to just read it off a different board. Yes, very, very, very close between those two drivers right now. It is going to be a very exciting Q2 and Q3 session, I think, yet.
Yes, indeed.
Now be sure to keep watching.
Now the Mercs are making their way out now. Russell's had a very, very inconsistent last 5 races in terms of qualifying form. 15th, 6th, 18th, 10th, and 3rd. So he's all over the place in terms of qualifying, but he's about to start his hot lap here. But Max Verstappen's desperately trying to get ahead of him, and Russell just eventually gets ahead of him just before the start of his hot lap. So that might put him off a little bit as he starts coming around the final bend here and gets as much pace as possible as he starts now his fast lap.
DRS now wide open as he makes his way down that long main straight. George Russell is going to be wanting to be able to compete with the top runners as the two Red Bulls dive into the pits. We'll wait and see if the others follow suit. But George Russell makes his way through turn 2 now. Will he be able to stick within the times of those top drivers at the moment of Carlos Sainz and Max Verstappen? Waiting for his first sector to get put in though.
Yeah, his first sector time is 27.16, and
for down
past that, it's quite a slow first sector time.
Hamilton even further down than George Russell right now, not looking.
Oh dear, it's not looking good for the Mercs.
They're sitting with these times at the moment around P5 or 6.
If they're lucky,
keep it up.
Yeah, indeed, it's going to be very interesting here. Track limits has been a little bit of a thing today so far, and we'll see if that continues to be a thing. We still have Bottas, Sargeant, and Lawson, the other ones in the elimination zone, with those two Mercs who have yet to put a time in. Russell, though, is up on the middle sector in terms of comparing himself to Hulkenberg. Hamilton's down on Hulkenberg's time, so Hamilton's still currently sitting in the elimination zone. So really not a good lap for these two Mercs as they go around. They really need to get out there again to get themselves into Q3.
Yes, just waiting to see what they do as they come up to the end of their laps now. George Russell coming through the Parabolica. He comes across the start-finish line with only a 1:21.4, so puts himself up into 6th. Lewis Hamilton only up into 12th.
Yeah, so he's still going to be in the elimination zone with just under 7 minutes left here, Hamilton. And there's a little bit of concern in the Mercedes garage. Toto Wolff not looking too chuffed or impressed with that. So they need to desperately get those cars back into the pits. Make a couple of, get some new tyres on, make some tactical changes, see where they went wrong, and get back out there as quickly as possible. You cannot afford to, as Mercedes, mess up 2 weekends in a row.
Yes, just continuing to wait for some other drivers to get back out on track as the Mercedes have finished their laps now. I think Hamilton not very happy at the start of his lap because who was this that dived in on him? It was a Perez. I don't think he held him up, to be very honest.
It was very odd by Perez, though, because he dives right ahead of Hamilton as Hamilton's about to start a hot lap for Perez to then just get out the way.
Remember, they have a minimum amount of time that they have to do their lap in, so they can't wait for the Mercedes to start their laps. He was well off the racing line, luckily, but yeah.
Yeah, I don't think it's too much of a problem, though, for Hamilton as he started a hot lap there, which wasn't very hot, if we're honest. Currently sitting down in 12.098. behind Hulkenberg, who's 0.008, behind Tsunoda, who's the only one at the very end there, going into Q3 at this point in time. 5 minutes and 35 seconds left. Carlos Sainz's last 5 qualifying times has been very, very consistently in 5th and 6th, though I think he could go quicker because he's currently sitting in 1st again. I said currently twice for some reason, but Sainz is sitting in 1st again for this session, as he has been in practice 2 and practice 3. So,
yes,
yeah, looking good.
We just hit over 700 of you watching alongside with us. Thank you very much for joining us here today. Let's try and get that to 1,000 of you. Be sure to share it with all of your friends, your dogs, your cats, your rats that are in your trash. I don't care. Just get people on the stream. Lots of people quite shocked about Mercedes qualifying pace here today. Peter Bonington, the senior race engineer for Lewis Hamilton at Mercedes-AMG Petronas Formula 1 team, that's the full title. Yeah, not looking all that happy. Hamilton might be kicking himself that he's re-signed with Mercedes.
I'm not sure he's necessarily kicking himself. I think they can definitely get themselves back where they want to. They've got some of the top engineers in the world at that team, so I'm sure they'll sort out their issues for next season. But currently, really not looking all that great for the Mercedes for the rest of the season. So let's see if they can get out there and into Q3. Russell's safe. Hamilton is not. So we're just about to get going with some more drivers, all of them in the pits at the moment. So yeah, let us know in the comments, who do you think is going to get eliminated? Which major name is going to get eliminated? Reese, which one do you reckon?
I don't want to say it. I almost said it last week and it did happen. I'm going to say Hamilton.
It's going to be Hamilton again, I think. I think also Hamilton's not going to make it in. He's probably going to have to start the race right near the back again and have to work his way through. So it's not looking great for Hamilton at the moment. So could he get himself out of Q2 and into Q3? We're going to wait and see. We're almost up to 800 people, but we are just 7 likes away from 100. Please, all of you right now, smash that like button and we'll get to 100. And again, be sure to subscribe to the channel. We guys really, really appreciate you guys subscribing, and we've got some awesome things for you guys coming up this week as well.
Yes, just watching a replay of Carlos Sainz's car looking a lot more stable than it did in practice. They seem to have figured out their porpoising issues. I say that, but it's still bouncing a lot mid-corner as they get ready to send Carlos Sainz back out on track again. I almost said Charles Leclerc. It's so difficult when they change up their helmets from one race weekend to the next. But this is Carlos Sainz now getting ready to leave his pits for another qualifying attempt.
Now, the interesting thing, of course, they've only got 3 minutes and 20 seconds left of the session. So everybody's in the pits at the moment, and they're just about to release them. So you're going to have one more lap, basically, in Q2 here to try and get themselves into Q3. All the cars are ready. All the engineers are ready with those blankets. And I think as Mercedes are making the first move, well, a few cars are making the first move. There's a whole lot of cars now making their way out.
See someone jump out. So it looks like pretty much everyone is going to dive out the pits. We have the Ferrari, maybe a bit of an unsafe release with the Red Bulls there. Yeah, lots of unsafe releases here.
I'm not so necessarily sure they're too unsafe, but there's a lot of fighting for positions. Look at this from... that's Fernando Alonso just forcing that Alfa Tauri of, I think there's Sonoda there.
Lawson.
There's a Lawson. It is Lawson, yes, sorry. Lawson just out the way. I think Fernando Alonso saying, get out the side, you rookie. I've been here for 20 years.
I've been racing since before you were born. So, which is literally the fact because he's born in 2002.
Yeah.
So, yes, just carrying on though with the drivers currently waiting to leave the pits. There's a long queue as Felipe Drugovich looks on. Do you think that was Fernando Alonso?
No, I thought you were going to go and tune the Aston Martin engineer. I thought that was a long, and I was going to say, well, you can't say he's fat because he is a little bit of a pudgy engineer that I was walking.
Felipe Drugovich.
No, I saw with the guy walking away from him. It was quite interesting. He looked a little bit like a frog, but it was quite funny. Anyway, we're looking at Felipe Drugovich, of course, who's the reserve driver for Aston Martin. Maybe he should take over from Lance Stroll for the remainder of the season because, quite frankly, Lance Stroll has been useless. We move on. 2 minutes to go, of course, and everybody's making their way around the track to start their hot laps.
Yes, let's see what Valtteri Bottas can do. He is the only Alfa Romeo in this session on the medium tyres because unfortunately Zhou Guanyu was not able to get out of Q1. Watching Logan Sargeant though having a better session this race weekend. He's gotten into Q2. Very good from him. Don't crash again, please.
Yeah, if he can get into Q3, that'd be great. Sainz is on the radio and don't quite know what's wrong with his car. I think he's just complaining about traffic maybe ahead of him.
Yes, I think he may be because he's got Verstappen and Norris ahead of him, and then Perez and Bottas are behind him. As Logan Sargeant now starts... Sorry, this is Alex Albon. Alex Albon starts his first hot lap, giving the toe, though, to Logan Sargeant.
Quite clever from Williams, of course, trying to get the teammates to help each other out. Albon a little bit more safe than Sargeant, of course. And Albon's going to go do his fast time and try and give a toe to his teammate Logan Sargeant to get him into Q3 as well, which would be great for the Williams team. And Tsunoda's also started his fast lap. Let's see how the AlphaTauri driver does.
Yes, the next drivers across the line are now, I think that's Russell and Hamilton. Yes, it is. Russell goes first, then Hamilton. So Russell's giving Hamilton the toe. Interesting to see that Lewis Hamilton is struggling around this circuit. Sargeant, though, currently up on Yuki Tsunoda's lap time by 0.1 seconds. It is not a personal best for him, though, in that first sector. Tsunoda's up on his own time, though. So that benchmark is going to be moved for that driver at risk point. So Hamilton, what is he going to be able to do? He's getting the toe from his teammates. He approaches that first sector mark, and now what does he put in?
Well, he's up on Tsunoda's time, but not by that much. If we're honest, Sargeant is down at Tsunoda's time in the second sector, and so is Tsunoda on Sainz's time. So Sargeant not looking likely to get out of Q2. He's got just 5 seconds left until the official checkered flag is shown, and a few drivers now crossing the line. And let's see what their times are as they do come across. As Q2 is now officially over, so all of those on fast laps can have to end them now. It will be their last lap. Sargeant crossed the line. Where does he finish? He will not make it out. He is eliminated from this session. Unfortunate for the driver.
Moves himself up into 9th. Piastri is now the driver at risk. Will he be able to get himself high up? Lawson is not improving on his lap time. Hamilton, though, is doing all right. Alonso is not improving, though, either. Lawson is ever so slightly down on Tsunoda's time right now. But will Piastri be able to move away from that driver at risk moment? George Russell moves himself up into P5 ahead of Sergio Perez, who moves down to P6. Hamilton gets up to P5, much better.
Piastri's in the elimination zone, so Piastri has to do decently right in this lap here.
Leclerc takes the fastest lap time at 1:20.977. That's the fastest lap time around the circuit this race weekend.
Lawson is not getting through to the next session. He is out. Hulkenberg is also out. Piastri, will he get out of the session? Only just, but Lando Norris is right near the end there now. Let's see how Bottas does. Bottas, the last one in that thing that can potentially dethrone Norris.
Takes the fastest lap time overall.
And there you go.
1:20.937.
Bottas
is out of this session.
Norris is just safe. Norris is just safe. My word. Only by 0.013.
Perez finishes up his qualifying session here today and moves himself up into P4. Carlos Sainz abandons his final lap.
Yeah, indeed. So, unfortunately, the drivers we have lost there, Logan Sargeant, Valtteri Bottas, Hulkenberg, Lawson, and Tsunoda. So both Alpha tires, unfortunately, have gone out of that session.
Still
So
a
all
good
of our
qualifying session for them though today.
Yes, and all of the major names are still safe. So we said Hamilton might be the one to lose, but he didn't. He managed to get out. Good lap time from him in 6th position. Albon still there in 5th. The Williams driver doing fantastically to get himself there. And of course, it's the single Williams, the single Aston Martin, and then both team members of Red Bull, Ferrari, Mercedes, and McLaren.
Very impressive there from Alex Albon yet again to put himself up into P5, getting that Williams into another qualifying 3 session. So impressive from him this season so far.
Yeah, I've been loving Alex Albon, and we've been having a few polls over the weekend as to where he should go. And thank you guys so much for smashing that like button.
900 of you
Let's
watching
keep going
with us. Thank you very much. We could very well get to that 1,000 concurrent viewers mark that we were talking about.
Indeed.
Just watching the last of the drivers making their way to the pits now as Mark sets up our next poll. Certainly very impressed though, as I've already said, by Alex Albon. Sergio Perez doing all right though so far. Logan Sargeant, he's going to be kicking himself a little bit, but I think still a good qualifying session from him here today. Logan Sargeant quite upset on the radio that he didn't get out into that final qualifying session, but not too bad of a day for him here today. Watching the final drivers make their way round into this pit lane now. Just watching with Valtteri Bottas, not too bad for him in that Alfa Romeo.
No, but unfortunately,
Yeah, there wasn't ever going to be a good session for that Alfa. They're not doing all that good here today.
Indeed. And just looking here, we did end that poll for Q2. So Max Verstappen did not... no, he did finish on
56.
pole. He did finish there at the top of Q2 there, just with 56% of your votes. And you were correct, those 56. Leclerc did finish in 2nd. Who was the next highest driver rated, although other got 20%, and Albon finished, I think it was in 5th there in that session, who of course got 10% of your votes. Go and vote in that new poll. Who's going to finish on pole for tomorrow? Just looking at a few of the comments coming in, people saying that unfortunately for us, Lewis Hamilton is through. We don't have an issue with Lewis Hamilton going through. It's just that I was thinking that, he wasn't looking very, very comfortable in Q2, so I thought he might not make it through, but he does. Very, very securely into Q3, of course, and that's why he's in the poll as well for who could potentially be the fastest, because we saw how quick the Mercs went in practice 3 on those soft tyres.
Yes, just reading the comments here from MJ Rajam. Question from India. What is your opinion on 2 new teams in Formula 1? I certainly think it would help the sport. I think we need to get new teams in the Formula 1 group, because Andretti have put a proposal in wanting to get into the sport. I love this grandstand here. It's in between the old track and the new track. It's incredible. But yes, I think it would be good to get some new blood into the sport. Of course, Porsche have said that they're not going to be coming into the sport anymore, which is quite sad. But we do have Audi buying another team. That doesn't add a extra team to the sport, but close enough. And then, I don't know, maybe we could get another Asian team, and maybe Toyota, Audi, or not Audi, sorry, maybe Toyota, Honda. I don't know.
Tesla
would be interesting, but
of course they don't really do combustion
have
engines.
cars, no.
So yes, but that would have been quite interesting. Oh, look at that! We've got Giroud, of course, footballer there.
I have no clue who that is.
We've got Olivier Giroud, professional footballer, who's currently in the pit box. I think that's of Alfa Romeo, or was it Ferrari?
Congrats to whoever has them.
Yes,
so happy.
So I'm not necessarily happy. I just know that that's Olivier Giroud just chilling there. People are asking, are you from KZN? Well, Reese is from KZN, indeed. So that was quite interesting there. So KZN, for all those who have no idea, is a province in South Africa. That is where we are from. So welcome if you guys are interested.
Mark is from Gauteng in South Africa, but we are both from South Africa. Yes. Just watching here with Lando Norris, he didn't have the greatest session here in Q2. He only put himself up into P10. Very lucky not to get dropped out into that final few dropout spots.
Yeah, he was very lucky. Only just missed by 0.014 seconds did Norris make it into Q3. So only just, but I think on the soft tyres, the McLarens should be a little bit quicker. And that same goes for Mercedes as well. So Ferrari certainly looking like they're going to challenge Max Verstappen for pole position, but it's still Max's to lose, I think.
Their I've read that already. Enrique are asking, which qualifying session is it? Is it Q1, Q2? It is currently in between sessions. We're waiting for the final qualifying session to get underway. Not too long to get going though for that session now. Hopefully just a few minutes. and then we do have that session underway here. Yeah, been very exciting. The Ferraris are looking quite competitive here today. Certainly not what we expected coming into this race weekend off the back of Zandvoort, where they seem to struggle only for a P5 qualifying, well, finishing place at least with Carlos Sainz. Alex Albon sitting in his car getting ready for this next session to get underway. Mlungisi saying from KZN Escort here, thank you very much for joining in here. TC also saying 2 more teams mean more gridlock during qualifying. Of course it does. And that makes it that much more
I was about to say, come on, have it out. I love it. Absolutely love it. So anyway, guys, thank you so much for joining us on the stream. Please be sure to hit that like button right now and subscribe to the channel if you are new. Trust me, it's worth it. Just do it.
I agree though with Ace Djat just saying it would be crazy to see Koenigsegg making their way into Formula 1. Mark would love them to be in Formula 1. I would also love them to be in Formula 1. They would never, though. It's highly, highly unlikely. And Giancarlo Fisichella, Formula 1 from 1996 to 2003. He's a race winner, 3-time race winner. Yeah, very happy to see him once again here on the Formula 1 grid.
Yes, raced for a very long time, from 1997 was, I said, until 2009.
Sorry,
so
2009, yes.
Very, very long-standing race driver.
Race driver, Giancarlo Fisichella, if I remember correctly.
Indeed. Lewis Hamilton has got a lot of engineers right next to his car. They're looking at all the stats. He needs to find some pace there. Was struggling a little bit in Q2, but managed to safely get out of it into Q3. And he was looking quick in practice 3, so could potentially get himself right up there amongst the pole position sitters. So it's going to be a very, very interesting Q3. Do not go anywhere, guys, as we're just now starting Q3. 12 minutes of this session left.
I have to apologize. Giancarlo Fisichella, I think he raced for Renault. He may have raced for Ferrari. I'm just going to double check myself.
Potentially a reserve driver. Yeah, so Q3 is now underway. Nobody yet again making their way out.
He raced for Ferrari. Yes, but as you say now, Q3 is underway. 12 minutes is the length of the session. 11 minutes and 30 seconds is what is left now. Just waiting for cars, though, to get out onto the track.
Quite a few people from South Africa joining us in the comments. Great to see you. From KZN, Johannesburg South, Gauteng, a whole lot of places. Cape Town, people from Hungary as well. Yeah, and India and Yemen and a whole lot of things. So do let us know where you guys are watching from. We'll try and read them out as we do, but we're getting some action now from Q3, of course, which has just begun. We've got 11 minutes left, and now the cars are making their way out onto track. The Red Bulls being the first ones to make the move, and now the Ferraris following in close pursuit.
Are they, though?
Yes.
Yes, they are. McLaren, though, getting the jump first before the Ferrari of Carlos Sainz and Charles Leclerc. Carlos Sainz is behind Leclerc, though. And then it is Max Verstappen at the front of the pit lane procession, that one. Then Perez, Lando Norris, Fernando Alonso, Charles Leclerc, and Carlos Sainz, then followed by Oscar Piastri.
Got a whole lot of interesting comments coming in here from India, Rome, Johannesburg, Malawi. Great to see here. People saying Ferrari is faster than Mercedes at Monza. Indeed, so far they have been questioned from India. What do you think about Massa's claim recently? Very quickly, Reese, you can go over that.
Why don't you go and watch my video about it on my channel? That is exactly what you can go and do.
Yes, Reese has got a whole video about all of the thoughts there. So go and check that out if you guys are interested. And go and check out all the other videos about news. Reese does news every day of the week and brings you all the latest breaking from Formula 1.
Ashkay here saying that he's torn between the cricket match and the Formula 1 qualifying. Stay here. The cricket goes on forever. It's not going to move. It will be there once qualifying is done. You've got 10 minutes left to quali. Stay here for this. That Max Verstappen, though, currently ramping up to start his first hot lap of qualifying 3. We're over 900 viewers now. Thank you very much. As Kimmy Phoenix says, like and subscribe, please, peeps, so these guys can buy... Or, yeah, whatever.
So, yeah. Thank you so much for that. Thank you for subscribing. We love it when everybody goes and subscribes, guys. Let's keep it going. 9.5 minutes left here. All the cars making their way out on the out laps. It looks quite slow for these out laps. I mean, they've taken a while to get halfway through there. And we've got 9 minutes and 20 seconds left. So Christian Horner looking a little bit interested, at least. He's a little bit concerned, perhaps. I know it's going to be a very difficult qualifying session for them. On these soft tyres, of course, the Ferraris have been looking very quick. I think the McLarens will probably be quick again. Alonso's always there and thereabouts. Albon's always there and thereabouts. It's going to be all up in the air. Very, very interested as Verstappen comes around the last corner of the track to start the first hot lap of this session.
Yes, Max Verstappen now making his way through the Parabolica to start his first hot lap now of qualifying 3. The first session on soft tyres. Now, he comes across that start-finish straight, crosses the line and starts his first hot lap. DRS wide open. Let's see what Max Verstappen can do. He doesn't need a toe. He doesn't like to get it. He prefers to have the clean air. And now he makes his way through turn 1 and 2.
Yeah, Max Verstappen starting his teammate Sergio Perez right behind him, as is then the McLaren and Alonso. So I think it is Norris that's just behind Perez there. So we'll follow these times as closely and as well, actually I think it's Piastri that's behind. Sorry, it is indeed. So it's Verstappen, Perez, Norris. No, it's Norris. What am I talking about? It's Verstappen, Perez, Norris, Alonso, Leclerc, Sainz, Piastri, Albon, then Russell and Hamilton bringing up the rear for to be the last first hot lap. We see here from him. He'll be the last one to put it on. Verstappen obviously sets the first purple sector of the race. Nobody's taken it away from him as of yet, as Sergio Perez does not. But somebody else has now. It's Alex Albon. Alex Albon has set the purple sector in sector 1.
I mean, this Williams this season has just been absolutely incredible down the long main straights. They are super, super fast. Let's see what Charles Leclerc can do, though. He's moving his way through the middle sector now, coming through the second Degner. DRS now wide open. Max Verstappen with the purple middle sector. Can that be stolen by the Ferraris? Let's just wait and see what is able to happen here now. That has been stolen by Charles Leclerc. He's going faster in the middle sector. Verstappen, though, crosses the line and sets himself on provisional pole for now with a 120.631. A very fast lap time. What can Sergio Perez do behind him? He only goes into second. Waiting for Charles Leclerc, though, to cross the finish line now. He approaches the parabolica. Lando Norris goes third. Alonso goes fourth. Now watching with Leclerc as he exits the parabolica. Approaching that start-finish line. What lap time can he put in here? Can he get pole? Yes, he can. Provisional pole for now by 0.1 seconds over Max Verstappen.
Yes, Sainz now crossing the line. He goes into provisional pole ahead of his teammate. He's going with my prediction so far. Sainz is first, and the Tifosi are loving it. And so is the Ferrari garage. Everybody's loving it. Alex Albon in fourth. There you go. There goes the Williams driver of Alex Albon. Just 0.3 seconds behind the two Ferraris. Ferraris so close together. Verstappen also 0.1 seconds as Russell now goes into fourth ahead of Albon. Great time from Russell. Not too bad. They're 0.2 seconds behind Sainz's time. Just watching a replay here of Max Verstappen. I think he just grabs a little bit too much of the... Yeah, just grabs a tiny bit of the gravel there.
So there's definitely still some more time for Max Verstappen to find here because he was only 0.099 behind that provisional pole lap at the moment. So still lots of time as his girlfriend Kelly Piquet watches on at that moment from her partner Max Verstappen. He will be a little bit upset about that, but he will get a second stab of it now as he comes across Parabolica. I think he's going to go for another stab at a fast lap.
He's not.
He doesn't.
He's going
He
to
dives
pits.
straight into the pits.
There's 6 minutes
We now
left.
have 1,000 of you watching alongside with us. Thank you very much for joining in our stream. Please do be sure to hit that like button and subscribe to the channel if you're not already.
I'm very concerned about Hamilton, who's all the way down in 9th, 0.7 seconds behind everybody else, as Alex Albon currently sits in 5th. And everybody's going to make their way back into the pits, of course, before starting their last hot lap. They'll only have 2 laps, it seems, in this last session here. So it's going to be right down to the wires. Do not go anywhere as everybody makes their way into the pits. Piastri and Norris not looking that quick, though. 0.4 and 0.6 seconds behind Sainz. The Ferrari's looking very quick. Perez, I don't think is going to be in the top 3. Russell, though, could maybe challenge. He's been decent this weekend.
Yes, Russell has been relatively decent this weekend. Hopefully he'll be able to challenge some of those other top runners here. But right now it's looking like Ferrari's game.
Yeah, Sainz is currently sitting provisional pole. That's where I put him. That's where I predicted him. And I said this yesterday. I said I'm going to throw one thing here that I didn't think would happen. Sainz could well start on pole tomorrow. And that would be a huge thing for Ferrari fans. Imagine if they get a 1-2. That's what it currently sits. Verstappen in third, though we know Verstappen can find time. He had a little bit of a gravel touch there on his lap.
Just being one driver that you certainly cannot ever count out. And I agree with BL in the comment section saying Albon in that Williams is performing some miracles this season. He has matured so much as a driver. And Brandon there just saying he's joining us from Zimbabwe. Thank you very much for joining in our stream. But really, Alex Albon is just really performing at the absolute peak of his career. He really, I'm sure, is going to have so many teams knocking on his door to get him in one of their cars.
Yeah, and that's why we had a poll earlier. Where should he move to? The biggest one that everybody is saying. Funny enough, we actually had a tie in our poll. Had a lot of people participate in it, saying he should stay at Williams or go to Aston Martin. That was a tie. And we had 4 options, so it really shows you that people are quite passionate about that.
We've got some people's predictions here for the end of qualifying. Arul Gupta saying Sainz, Max, Alex, Russell, Leclerc, Hamilton, Checo, Alonso, Norris, and Piastri. Interesting qualifying predictions there, putting Albon quite high up there. I certainly hope we could get that.
Yeah, that's what I was saying. Albon's very, very high up there in third position there. Though I do see the McLaren's quite low down. They aren't doing particularly well this session so far. Just 3 minutes and 40 seconds left. So everybody's going to go out for one more lap. We know that's going to happen. It's going to be the same as Q2. And yeah, it's going to be right down to the wire. And I cannot wait to see exactly what happens there. Again, guys, please like this video and subscribe to the channel, guys. Lots of news comes here. And we will be doing the race tomorrow, of course. So go like that race stream now. In preparation so that you guys can be notified when we go live tomorrow.
Yes, also just some more comments here from the likes of Clanto saying, my Tifosi heart is screaming. I'm sure it is right now. With 2 Ferraris currently sitting on the first row of the Monza Grand Prix.
And there we go.
Verstappen now leaves though to start his outlap for the next set of flying laps before the end of qualifying 3 here today.
Well, this is going to get right down to the wire. Alonso's out early, it seems. I think it is Alonso who's out relatively early. We'll confirm that for you now as Leclerc is also making his way around. And it's going to be a very, very busy track with only 10 cars, of course, but everybody making their way out the track. And I do quite enjoy Bonker's comment there saying, Vamos! That, of course, for being Carlos Sainz in first position right now, the Spaniard. Could he get provisional pole, Reese?
I certainly think he could. He's been rapid out here all weekend long. He's really enjoyed this Ferrari. And, I mean, I also agree with a lot of people in the comment section saying, where has this pace come from with Ferrari?
It's their home Grand Prix.
It's their home Grand Prix. They really do dial off the downforce for qualifying. They do struggle a little bit in the race. We'll see whether they're able to be usurped in the race. I doubt it with that top speeds being so high. But I think whoever has pole here, it is really going to help in the race tomorrow.
Yeah, indeed. And I'm feeling a little bit irritated with the fact that Alonso's gone out first. I was really hoping he'd come out last and finish off our qualifying here, because I don't think he's going to be able to beat times if he goes out last. I think he'd be better following somebody. But nonetheless, we're going to see what he can do. I'm very keen to see what Alonso can do. And so are a lot of fans, of course. Everybody loves Alonso.
Everybody does love Alonso. We want to see him doing really well. Some people with signs saying, I travelled from Brazil 10,501 kilometers just to watch Ferrari at their home track. Certainly an incredible experience that must be, as that fan is experiencing here in Monza. Just watching Charles Leclerc now making his way down the back straight before the Parabolica as he sets himself up to start his next hot lap.
It's an interesting one. I was just thinking about some dirty tactics you could do right now. But quite frankly, if you're Leclerc or Sainz, wouldn't you want to cause somehow a little bit of a yellow flag, red flag?
Maybe.
You know? I mean, anyway, we're going to see Leclerc now starts his final hot lap of the session. Let's see how he can do. The DRS wide open, comes into turn 1, nails the apex absolutely beautifully there. Look at that great turn there in that first couple of corners there. So Leclerc starting very well in his lap. Verstappen now also chasing Leclerc.
Anyi Mani just saying there in the comment section, yes, everybody does love Alonso, Mark. I do agree with that.
Ooh.
Charles Leclerc sets the fastest first sector right now. Max Verstappen, though, starts his hot lap as well. Will he be able to retaliate to the likes of the Ferrari's pace? They are really blitzing it out there at the moment.
And
as Carlos Sainz
he's slower.
Oh, yeah.
Verstappen's slower.
Max Verstappen is faster in the middle and final sectors, so don't discount him just yet. Max Verstappen is slower, but
look how close these times are between Leclerc, Sainz, and Verstappen. They are literally knife edge times. Leclerc sets another purple sector in the middle sector. Let's see how we end off this session. It's going to be a hell of a one down to the line. Just 7 seconds left until the end of the session. So this is 100% the final lap, as Alonso will be coming across the line in just a little bit now.
Max Verstappen up in the middle sector though. Charles Leclerc was flying through Ascari, but Max Verstappen's middle sector has been stolen by Sainz, who is absolutely flying out there on circuit. He is really setting the fastest lap times out there overall. Charles Leclerc is up overall over everybody. He takes provisional pole for now, but Max Verstappen is coming through that final sector. Where does he put himself? Max Verstappen comes to that finish line. He takes provisional pole for now. Will he be able to hold on to that though, as Sainz is coming behind him very closely? Absolutely flying.
Sainz has got provisional pole. 1:20.2.
0.13 seconds.
The Tifosi are going mad. Ferrari has got provisional pole. Piastri finishes in 5th. We've still got a few cars coming across the line, but Piastri finishes in 5th. Alonso still all the way down in 10th. Not great for him, but Sainz and Leclerc, 1st and 3rd. Verstappen splits them in the middle there. Russell gets beaten by Perez. Perez moves into 4th. And look at how passionate Sainz is there, waving to the crowd. And so is Leclerc.
Albon moves up to 5th now. Another good day for Alex Albon.
Here comes Hamilton.
To see what George Russell can do. George Russell comes across the finish line. He only puts himself up into 4th. Not bad, but moves Perez down a little bit more on a tough day for Sergio Perez. Hamilton, though,
Also,
what can he do? He
tough
only
day.
moves himself up into 8th.
Yeah, so Russell much better than Hamilton. Up in 4th is Russell, and Hamilton down in 8th. Piastri and Norris in 7th and 9th. Not great for the McLaren drivers. Williams of Alex Albon in 6th, but Sainz is on provisional pole.
Absolutely phenomenal day for the Ferraris out here at their home circuit. They'll be wanting to have a brilliant day out tomorrow, but I think they've really got their work cut out for them in the race because those Red Bulls are looking extremely fast.
As the comment section is saying, because he's a smooth operator. Carlos Sainz, the smooth operator for Ferrari, has got provisional pole. Not provisional pole, he's got pole for tomorrow for Ferrari. And look at how chuffed the fans are. They're absolutely fantastic. So we're going to head on straight into our review. Keep it going in the comments, guys. I'm so excited. Just go and vamos in the comments. Vamos. And
we've got McDonald's number 2 on the podium here, well, for qualifying at least.
Yes,
we've
we
got
do.
2 Ferraris, or 2 Ferrari McDonald's cars, provisional front row.
Indeed. So, welcome. Wait. Let's do this again. And welcome everybody to Forever Motorsports. Here we have just finished Monza's qualifying, and this is the review for that. The big news of the day: Carlos Sainz, the Spanish man in the Ferrari at their home circuit in Monza, gets pole ahead of Max Verstappen. Charles Leclerc also in 3rd place. Russell 4th, Perez 5th, Albon in 6th, Piastri 7th, Hamilton 8th, Norris 9th, Alonso 10th. Reese, what a session we've just had.
Brilliant session here for qualifying 3. Absolute scenes here in Monza from the Tifosi, who are absolutely over the moon to see Ferrari 1st and 3rd to start the Monza Grand Prix tomorrow afternoon.
It's exactly that. So all chuffed here. And of course, Ferrari did get a little bit in trouble earlier in the session with regards to too slow an outlap there. So we'll see if they're going to get a penalty for that.
It actually just came up now, and it said no further investigation necessary
Perfect.
for those drivers being a little bit slower than their regulated times that they have to do on an outlap.
Exactly that. So Ferrari have got pole for tomorrow, but let's go through the 3 sessions. Lance Stroll was garbage in the first qualifying session, finishing off in 20th. Magnussen 19, Ocon 18, Gasly 17, and Zhou 16th. The last ones eliminated there. Alpines have been slow all weekend, and again starting right near the back of the grid, Reese.
Yes, very weird to see the Alpines struggling off the back of last race weekend, where they got a pole, well, not a pole, where they got a podium position with Pierre Gasly finishing in P3. Lots of people in the comment section, though, saying that they are very worried about what Ferrari are going to be doing tomorrow in terms of strategy. We'll move on to that a little bit later, though. But carrying on from the bottom of the finishes from qualifying 1, we have
going to qualifying 2, yeah.
Well, just saying though, for qualifying 1, that everyone had to qualify on a set of hards because we are trialing that new format this race weekend for the 2nd time. But yeah, Stroll down in P20, Magnussen P19, Ocon 18th, Gasly 17th, Zhou 16th, and Sargeant 15th, the final of those to be dropped out.
No, Sargeant made it through to Q2, of course, because 15th is, of course, the last position you can get in Q2. So we moved on into Q2. No red flags or yellow flags today. So clean qualifying, we will say that much, for all 3 sessions. So Q2, fairly uneventful, except for the fact that Hamilton was struggling ever so slightly and did manage to get there, and Norris only just scraped through to Q3. So those that we lost in Q2 were Sargeant in 15th, Bottas 14, Hulkenberg 13, Lawson in 12th, and Tsunoda in 11th. The AlphaTauri is looking quick in the first qualifying session, but the second one, unfortunately, just eliminated there. And then we got, Reese, of course, into Q3.
Yes, Q3 is really where everything just went above and beyond, because the Ferraris were looking at a provisional pole already off the first set of qualifying attempts, and then just absolutely taking it in that second qualifying attempt. They really had the pace to do it here today, and the Tifosi are super over the moon here. They will be looking though to tomorrow afternoon, where it really counts. Tomorrow's the race, and of course that's where you score your points. If you get it right in qualifying, you still have the race tomorrow to really do your work.
Exactly that. So Alonso finished off in 10th, Norris 9th, Hamilton in 8th. Not a great session for him there. Piastri in 7th. Albon, we always talk about Alex Albon, up in 6th. Q3 yet again gets 6th position for the Williams car. Fantastic job from him today.
Yes, Alex Albon, I keep speaking about him and heaping praise on him because he is doing so well this season. I'm just over the moon to see him being able to get a Williams up into Q3.
Yeah, it's brilliant. Brilliant from Alex Albon. Of course, Perez then, the other Red Bull driver to Max Verstappen. He finishes in 5th, Perez. Not too bad from him. Much better than recent times, of course. Russell up in 4th. Good drive from him. We were actually stuck under the radar there. But up in 4th is Russell for Mercedes. So he'll try and do something tomorrow. Ahead of them, of course, the top 3. Leclerc in 3rd. Verstappen in 2nd. And Sainz in 1st.
Yes, brilliant day from all of them out there today. But we'll be looking forward to the race tomorrow afternoon, where we hope all of you will join us, because it is going to be absolute scenes here in Monza. With, of course, Ferrari starting from 1st and 3rd, with Max Verstappen in between them, then George Russell starting from behind. I think it's going to be a very exciting first lap here in Monza.
Exactly that. So we're going to say, recent I had to predict earlier. I was the first one to predict earlier, so it's you now. So predict the race results. Our top 3 will be whom?
I'm going to keep going with Max Verstappen. I think he has the consistency to be able to get it throughout the race, as well as Red Bull are going to be there for him on strategy calls. I think he's going to take number 10 on the trot. Let's see, though, whether he can beat that Monza curse this race weekend. Of course, there is that to contend with as well. But Charles Leclerc and Carlos Sainz are going to be wanting to take that race win in front of their home crowd. So I'm going to say Max Verstappen P1, Charles Leclerc P2, Carlos Sainz P3. I think something's going to happen to Charles Leclerc. To Carlos Sainz in P1, unfortunately.
Well, here's a completely different and bold prediction, a very bold prediction. I reckon Max Verstappen does get undone by that Monza curse, and this is how it's going to happen. Here it talks about a hell of a prediction. Sainz will win tomorrow's Grand Prix because he will go in without damage. Verstappen and Leclerc will touch quite badly into turn 1 and to both themselves, take themselves out of the race. No, I'm joking. Verstappen's going to finish first, Sainz in 2nd, and I'm going to say George Russell in 3rd.
Yes, well, some bold predictions here, but let's see what happens tomorrow in the race. I would love to see Alex Albon making his way onto the podium, but that still seems a little bit unlikely. But you never know. It could be quite an interesting race tomorrow. Still some predictions of rain coming over the circuit for the race tomorrow afternoon. Do be sure to join us, though, for our coverage of the Italian Grand Prix.
Indeed. Thank you so much for joining us on Forever Sports. It's been myself, Mark, and Reese alongside me, of course. That has been the Monza qualifying sessions there. And be sure to subscribe to the channel, like the videos for future, as well as, be sure to go and check out the membership parts of this channel when they should become available. And again, join us in our next sessions. Thank you so much.